Chapter 54. After Feng Xiaozhong, another 3 disciples failed. All of a sudden, the exam master's face darkened. Next, Wang Xuemei. Wang Xuemei was about 16 years old. She was not that pretty, but she had a determined look on her face. She responded, walked out of the group, and walked towards the bronze bell step by step. Looking at the girl who just walked out, the exam master's eyes brightened. Although this girl's Zhenqi was a little unstable, it was much better than the previous 5. She must have trained herself and had been through a lot of hard work. Let's start. The exam master's voice was filled with anticipation. Wang Xuemei nodded. She held her right palm in front of her chest and threw out a lightning-fast attack. Whew! The bronze bell rang once, but because it was so fast, most people did not even hear it. The exam master smiled. Wang Xuemei, pass. Phew! Wang Xuemei let out a breath of relief. She had been a bit arrogant before, thinking that she could easily shake the bell without using any martial skills. She did not expect that it would only shake a little, and even she could not hear it clearly, let alone the others. It seemed like Wang Xuemei had inspired them, for out of the next 7 disciples successfully shook the bell and passed the first test. Next, Yi Chen. Finally, the exam master called out Yi Chen's name. Without giving the others much time to think, Yi Chen casually walked a few steps forward. When he was still quite a distance away from the bronze bell, he threw out a punch in the air. Dong! The bronze bell shook violently, and the sound lingered in the air for a long time. It traveled all the way to the outside of the venue and even traveled miles. The 2 inner disciples at the door were shocked. Who was this? He had just reached the condensing reality realm, and he could already shake the bronze bell and cause such a huge noise. Inside the hall. Did I see it wrong? He was 15 steps away from the bell. No, at least 16 steps. What a monster! Could it be that he had already reached the condensing reality realm and had been hiding all this time? All the disciples who were participating in the test were discussing. All of their attention was on Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked calm. Shaking the bronze bell from a distance was not difficult for him at all. It would be strange if he could not shake it. The exam master paused for a second, then smiled and said, "Good, qualified, qualified." To say passed twice in a row, it could be seen how shocked the exam master was. After the first assessment ended, the second assessment officially began, and the disciples who did not pass were asked to leave. At the back of the assessment hall, this was an open-air field, about 500 square feet. In the center, there was a 20-meter wide lake. On both sides of the lake, there was a 10-meter tall wooden bridge. Looking at it as a whole, it looked like a wooden bridge that had been cut off from the middle. It looked extremely strange. The second test is to test your Qigong, and Qigong is particular about the purity of your Zhenqi. Now, stand on the wooden frame on the right and jump to the wooden frame on the opposite side to pass the test. Of course, if you grab the wooden frame with your hands, you will also pass. Raising his head, Yi Chen looked around and realized that the distance between the wooden shelves was the same as the width of the lake, which was about 20 feet or 66 meters. A normal mortal realm warrior would feel dizzy just by looking at it, not to mention flying across it. Sure enough, except for Wang Xuemei, the faces of the others turned pale. 20 feet, that's too far. My cloud traversing steps can only allow me to traverse 50 meters in the air at most. I can't go any further. You're lucky you're training the cloud steps, but I'm training the tiger leap art, which can only allow me to jump 30 meters. What about the other 30 meters? Hearing their discussion, Wang Xuemei's mouth curved into a smile. She looked extremely confident. Just as the exam master was about to announce the start of the assessment, a group of inner disciples came out of the exam hall. All of them were talking and laughing. "Why are you guys here?" The exam master was a bit annoyed. "Master, you don't know that there are very few missions at the end of the year. We've been training too hard. We heard that a lot of people are going to be promoted to inner disciple today, so we came to have a look." One of them, seemed to be quite familiar with the exam master. He laughed and said, "All right, if you want to have a look, then have a look. But don't disturb their assessment, or I'll kick you out immediately. Don't worry, when have we caused any trouble for you?" The exam master nodded. He cleared his throat and said, "First, Wang Shuamei." Hearing him, Wang Shuamei's feet touched the ground. She jumped onto the wooden shelf on the right like a bullet. She took a deep breath, ran a few steps, and jumped high into the air like a swallow. 10 meters, 20 meters, 50 meters, 55 meters. When she was 10 meters away from the wooden shelf on the left, Wang Shuamei used up all of her Jin Qi. Her body started to fall rapidly. She was about to fail. Wind connection art. At that critical moment, Wang Shuamei yelled. Her body once again jumped out of the air and landed on the wooden shelf. An inner disciple said, "To be able to train the wind connection art to this level is already very good. This art allows you to quickly change your Jin Qi when you use up all of it." Then it was the second disciple's turn. What he practiced was the cloud traversing steps. When he used it, it was as if he was riding on the clouds, extremely graceful and vigorous. However, due to the limitations of his realm, when he was only 5 meters away from the wooden shelf, he fell into the lake, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws, causing a huge splash. The third disciple was even more ridiculous. He only flew for about 30 meters before he fell back down, which made the crowd laugh. The fourth disciple was quite lucky. He managed to move 1/2 meter forward at that critical moment. He grabbed onto the edge of the wooden shelf, his whole body dangling there. The fifth disciple swallowed his saliva. He asked the exam master, "Master, can I step on the water?" "Step on the water." The exam master looked confused. The wooden shelf was 10 meters high, and jumping on the water was not easy. After all, the water was not like the ground, where one could use it as leverage. "Although there is no such rule, if you can jump on it, I will let you pass." The exam master nodded in agreement. His face lit up. The disciple jumped onto the wooden shelf and jumped into the water. Shoo! 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 Like a dragonfly touching the surface of the water. He stepped on the water at an extremely fast speed. His body was as light as a feather. Hee, this must be the floating body art. No wonder he suggested this. But it is not that easy to jump to 10 meters high. A lot of inner disciples saw through the movement art that the disciple was using. They were all curious. They wanted to see how he was going to pass the test. Hey, when he was 5 meters away from the other side of the lake, the disciple's right foot stomped on the water, creating a huge splash. His body shot up into the sky. It is the explosion water spell, no wonder. Yi Chen's eyebrows twitched. He had heard of the explosion water spell. This martial art could condense water in a short period of time, then explode it with Zhen Qi, creating a huge force. If that was the case, he could use the explosive force to push his body and easily jump into the sky. The exam master let out a bitter laugh. Pass! Next, Yi Chen. Chapter 55. All of a sudden, everyone's attention was on Yi Chen because he was the last one. Yi Chen did not feel any pressure. He stretched his body and jumped into the air like a giant bird, lightly landing on the wooden shelf. Just this move alone had shocked all the participating disciples. Let's start. The exam master nodded. Yi Chen's talent was beyond his expectation. In time, he would definitely become one of the top inner disciples. Looking at the wooden shelf 66 meters away, Yi Chen felt that it was so close. When he was at the peak of Mortal Realm Stage 10, he could already fly almost 100 meters in the air. Now that he had reached the condensing reality realm, 150 meters was nothing. If he could train a top-rank Mortal Realm art, 200 meters would only be a matter of time. With a slight whistle, Yi Chen took a step forward. His arms were wide open. Just like a rock spreading its wings, his clothes fluttered in the wind. He moved very fast. Shoo! After 2 blinks of an eye, Yi Chen landed on the wooden shelf in front of him. The exam master yelled, "Good pass!" Brother Huang, This Yi Chen's movement art does not seem to be any weaker than yours. No, in terms of movement art, he is already better than me. My only advantage is that my Zhen Qi is slightly higher. TSK, the inner disciples can choose any top-rank mortal realm art. At that time, the only one who could compete with him in movement art would probably be the flying in the wind, Brother Feng. Comparing him with Brother Feng, you guys are overestimating him. Seeing that the second part of the exam had ended, the inner disciples who were watching the exam started to discuss excitedly, each with their own opinions. The exam master looked at the inner disciples who were in the middle of their discussion with a smile. What? Besides him, don't look down on Zhang Haoren and Wu Zongming, who were promoted to inner disciples a few months ago. Their talents are 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000. That's right. I know that Zhang Haoren, half a month ago, he beat Brother Gua, who is famous for his powerful attacks. A lot of people are still talking about him. This guy is arrogant, but he does have what it takes. Soon, it was time for the third test. There was another space behind the open-air field. It was an existence similar to an ancient arena. The center of the field had been dug out, and it looked like a circular swimming pool without any water. On the rock wall at the edge of the field, there were 8 black holes several meters in size, which were sealed with iron gates. The third test is to fight with demonic beasts. Those who can last for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn will pass and officially become an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. The exam master said to the remaining 4 people. The disciple next to Wang Xuemei asked, "Elder, may I know what level the demonic beast is?" "Level 3. "Ah, rank 3 demonic beast." The disciple's face turned pale. If his opponent was an early condensing reality realm warrior, he would not be afraid, but a rank 3 demonic beast was different. Compared to human warriors, demonic beasts were born with powerful bodies and fierce auras. Under the same cultivation situation, demonic beasts were undoubtedly more powerful than human warriors. The exam master sneered, "You are afraid." The disciple did not say anything. "If I am afraid of a rank 3 demonic beast, how can I survive in the martial world in the future? You know, the scariest thing in the martial world is not the demonic beasts, not the powerful warriors, but the human heart. The evil people are 10 times, even 100 times scarier than the demonic beasts. They can kill without spilling blood." The exam master said. Wang Xuemei looked at the disciple with disdain and said, "Elder, I am willing to be the first one to take the test." The exam master liked Wang Xuemei quite a bit. He smiled. "Since you have just reached the condensing reality realm, of course we will not use the powerful rank 3 demonic beasts. The rank 3 demonic beasts for this test are Iron Claw Demonic Wolf, Leopard Tail Wolf, Blood Pattern Bear, and Black Shelled Cow. Iron Claw Demonic Wolf, Leopard Tail Wolf, Blood Pattern Bear, Black Shelled Cow. It is indeed not that powerful. It is only as powerful as a normal early condensing reality realm warrior." An inner disciple said, "All right, the test starts now. Wang Xuemei, you're the first one." Wang Xuemei jumped down. She looked at the black hole that was sealed by the iron gate. She could feel an evil aura locked onto her. "Ready?" The exam master walked to the mechanism and asked. Wang Xuemei nodded. Crack, crack. As the exam master opened the mechanism, the iron gate slowly rose up, revealing the inside of the black, hole bit by bit. Awoo! Before the iron gate was fully opened, a huge black shadow jumped out of it, carrying a horrifying demonic aura towards Wang Xuemei. Cloak blade art. Wang Xuemei did not panic. She took out 2 short blades from her waist and threw them out in a cross shape, landing on the black shadow's body. Chin! Sparks flew everywhere. The black shadow showed its real body. It was a calf-sized demonic wolf. Its fur was pitch black, and its eyes were red with a hint of green. Its huge mouth was slightly open, revealing its hideous canine teeth. Right then, its front paws were on the blades. It was fighting against Wang Xuemei. "Piss off!" infusing her Jin Qi into the short blades. Wang Shuame yelled in a low voice. Her body suddenly twisted. The blades were spinning like a spinning top. Shoo! The iron-clawed demonic wolf was extremely agile. It jumped out of the way, then jumped at Wang Shuame from another angle. It was sly yet cautious, but at the same time, it could not hide its natural brutality. Wang Shuame seemed to have experience in fighting against rank 3 beasts. She did not panic, nor was she greedy. Basically, she was using the strategy of blocking when the enemy came. The 2 short blades danced in the air so that not even a drop of water could get through. She protected her body, and from time to time, her blades would collide with the iron-clawed demonic wolf's claws, creating beautiful sparks. 1 person and 1 beast were evenly matched. Soon, the time it took for an incense stick to burn was up. Wang Shuame, you have passed the exam. Congratulations on becoming an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. The exam master made a gesture with his right hand, and the iron-clawed demonic wolf was grabbed by an invisible giant hand and sent into the black hole. Then the iron gate was closed, and the wolf could no longer come out. Wiping the sweat off her forehead, Wang Shuame was a little shocked. This iron-clawed demonic wolf had been locked up for too long, and it was even more ferocious than normal iron-claw demonic wolves. If she had not been trained like this in her family, she would not have been able to get out alive. Luckily, she had finally made it through. Now, she was officially an inner disciple and was qualified to learn top-rank Mortal Realm manuals. In the future, she would be able to take on missions from the school and travel around the world like the other inner disciples, making a name for herself. The next one to take the exam was the male disciple who did not perform well before. His opponent was the leopard tail wolf, which was famous for its speed and brutality. Within 10 breaths, the male disciple had been scratched by the leopard tail wolf and fell to the ground. At that critical moment, the exam master had saved him, but it also meant that he had lost the chance to become an inner disciple. If he wanted to take the exam again, he would have to wait for another 3 months. Then it was the disciple who had passed the second exam with exploding water spell. Although his flying art was not as good as the others, his attacking power was not bad. The blood pattern bear, which was not very agile, obviously could not hurt him at all. Instead, it was hit a couple of times, but of course it did not care at all. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the second inner disciple was born. Yi Qin, it's your turn. The exam master was not worried about Yi Qin anymore. The only thing he was worried about was whether or not he could beat the beast, or if he could survive the time it took for an incense stick to burn like the previous 2. Yi Qin did not know what the exam master was thinking, so he jumped into the air and jumped down quickly. Chapter 56. The iron gate opened, and a majestic shadow with an extremely oppressive aura walked out. Moo! The black shadow roared into the sky. It was a demonic bull covered in black armor, with 2 horns that looked like sharp blades. The demonic bull was 2.5 meters tall. Its eyes were as big as bells, and its nose was blowing out a whirlwind like air. Its hooves had sharp claws that were curved like blades, shining with a cold light. The black shell bull is the most powerful beast among the 3. It was born with great strength, and its defense is extremely high. It will be very hard to beat it. I think it can only last for another 30 minutes. Obviously, the crowd did not think that Yi Chen could beat the black shell bull. After all, even some of the inner disciples could not break through the black shell bull's defense in a short time, not to mention Yi Chen, who had just reached the condensing reality realm. Different from the iron-clawed demonic wolf and the blood pattern bear, the black shell bull did not attack immediately. It kept its right hooves on the ground and stared at Yi Chen with its bell-sized eyes. It lowered its body slightly. Tat, 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 tat. After charging up, the black shell bull's body suddenly emitted a dark, gray, demonic chi. The dense demonic chi covered it completely, only revealing its 2 bloody red eyes. Then it started to move its hooves, and with a horrifying pressure, it charged towards Yi Chen, trying to kill him with one hit. At this moment, Yi Qin moved. The muscles on his right arm swelled, and he clenched his fist, pointing it forward. When the black shell bull was only half a meter away from him, Yi Chen let out a low growl and punched through the demonic qi, landing heavily on the black shell bull's forehead. Boom! The hard rock ground cracked open, and the black shell bull's huge body was suddenly pressed into the ground. It was bleeding from every orifice, and its limbs were twitching, killing the black shell bull with one punch. Gasp! The inner disciples who were watching the battle gasped. They were shocked. Wang Xuemei murmured, "How can there be such a freak?" After a while, the exam master praised him. "Well done. With your potential and talent, it will not be hard for you to make a name for yourself in the future. You might even be able to compete with the geniuses from other martial institutions and bring glory to our Sky Cloud Martial School." Yi Chen's face did not turn red, nor was he out of breath. Just now, he had only used 70 to 80% of his strength. It could not be said to be strenuous. Hearing this, he said, "Elder, you flatter me. It doesn't matter if you've won or not. Everything depends on your own hard work. Otherwise, no matter how talented you are, your achievements will be limited. In the past 20 years, I've seen many unknown disciples soar to the skies, and I've also seen many talented disciples slowly fall. I hope you're not the next one." The exam master did not know how many times he had placed his hopes on Yi Chen, but unfortunately, in the end, only a few people were able to fulfill his expectations. However, Yi Chen was one of the people he had high hopes for, and he sincerely hoped that he could grow up and take charge of his own affairs. All right, now that the inner court disciple assessment is over, the three of you, follow me to collect your inner court disciple waste tokens, clothing, and other things. The rest of you are dismissed. In the side hall of the examination hall, according to your body shape, each of you can pick 3 sets of inner court disciple robes. In the future, if any of them are torn, you can come here to change them. The exam master opened one of the rows of cabinets and said to Yi Chen and the other 2. Yi Chen fixed his eyes on the cabinet. It was huge, divided into 12 compartments, and in each compartment there were 10 sets of white robes. All of them were of different sizes, and the sizes were marked on the outside. The 3 of them were very familiar with their own sizes, so they quickly picked out their robes. Then the exam master brought the 3 of them to the armory and let them pick out the weapons they liked. Yi Chen picked out a 4 feet long greatsword, named Hidden Cloud. It was as famous as the colorful snow blade from the North Snow Martial Academy and the crystal sword from the Emerald Martial Palace. They were all extremely powerful weapons. Wang Xuemei picked out 2 dark purple short knives, named Purple Deer. The other disciple was not good with weapons, so he randomly picked out a dagger that could cut through iron like it was mud. At this moment, the exam master took out 3 dark blue colored tags from the box next to him. They looked like they were made of wood or iron and seemed to be a bit heavy. Remember, you can't just throw away an inner court disciple tag. It represents your identity, and it is also the proof of your training in the outside world. When you are in danger, you can show the tag and it might be able to save you. On the other hand, if you lose the tag and get killed, the Sky Cloud Martial School won't be able to handle it. You have to remember this. The exam master warned. Yes. The 3 of them nodded. Picking up a tag, the exam master concentrated his power on his fingers and started writing on the back of the tag. His Zhen Qi rubbed against the tag, and a light cyan smoke came out. After writing on the first tag, the exam master picked up the second one soon. All 3 tags had been written with names, so it was useless for others to take them. Taking over the tag, Yi Chen subconsciously used 60% of his power, trying to test the tag's toughness. The result was out of his expectation. There was no mark on the tag at all. Yi Chen did not believe it. He combined all of his Zhen Qi with his strong power and poured it into his fingertips and pressed on the tag. Sizzle! A thin layer of white smoke came out, but the tag was still undamaged. Releasing his Zhen Qi, Yi Chen couldn't help but admire the exam master's profound cultivation. He was able to write the names of the three of them on the tag so easily. If that finger had landed on his body, it would definitely have pierced a bloody hole. Now, come with me to the ranking jade wall. That is the place every inner court disciple has to go to. The ranking jade wall? The three of them had heard of this place, but they had never been there. The palace in the middle of the mountain was called the Floating Cloud Palace. It was the place where the inner court disciples could take on missions. Outside of the palace was a huge square that was paved with white marble. On the side of the square, there was a jade wall that was 1 meter tall and 1 meter wide. It was completely white with a hint of cyan, and there were many wooden tags hanging on it. Right now, there were a lot of inner court disciples standing under the jade wall. They all raised their heads to look at the positions of the wooden tags and the names on them. Zhang Haoren actually climbed up another 10 places. He's now at 285th place. That Wu Zongming is not bad either. He is now 333rd. The most impressive one is still senior sister Su Jing. She jumped from 23rd to 8th among the core disciples, and finally made it to the top of the jade wall. While everyone was talking, Yi Chen and the other two followed the exam master to the jade wall. Greetings, Elder Tang. Are these 3 newly promoted inner court disciples? Although the exam master was only an outer court master, he was very powerful, even more powerful than the inner court masters. On top of that, he was a kind and friendly person, and was highly respected and loved by everyone. The exam master nodded and said with a smile, "You guys have to work hard. Some of them have great potential. I think they are not below the top 400. Hee, we are working hard every day. Don't worry, Elder Tang." Yi Chen didn't care about the others' conversation. He just carefully observed the huge jade wall. On the surface of the jade wall, there were many wooden tags, roughly divided into 29 rows. Each row could hold up to 20 tags, with different names written on them. Among them, Wu Zongming and Zhang Haoren were in the list. They were the 3rd on the 17th row, and the 15th on the 14th row. The 1st and 2nd rows were the wooden tags of the core disciples. They were bright red in color, bright and eye-catching, above everyone else. The 3rd row was for the top 10 inner court disciples. Their wooden tags were light red, which meant that they had the ability to become a core disciple and replace the position of the core disciples. The 4th row was for the inner court disciples with the most number of people. Their wooden tags were dark cyan, similar to the inner court disciples' tags. Chapter 57. The 3 of you write your name on the empty wooden plate and hang it at the end. The exam master pointed at the last row of empty wooden plates and said. Yi Chen took down the empty wooden plate, and just like the others, he gathered his strength on his fingers and slowly carved 2 words, Yi Chen, and then hung it back. The exam master rubbed his temples and said, "The rules of the ranking, I will not talk about these trivial things. You can ask your senior brothers and sisters. They will tell you everything. If there is nothing else, I will leave for now." After the exam master left, the male disciple who had just been promoted to an inner disciple immediately asked, "Senior brothers and sisters, my name is Li Sheng. May I ask, what is the use of the ranking and how do we rank?" One of the inner disciples explained, "To be honest, the ranking does not have any practical use. But if you really think that it is useless, then you are completely wrong. First of all, the ranking can stimulate the competitive spirit. No one wants to be ranked lower than others, and no one can just casually get a high rank. If you want to rush to the top, you have to rely on hard work and power. Of course, there are some people who are willing to give up, but after all, it is very rare, almost negligible. After all, it is not easy to become an inner disciple. Everyone knows how hard it is. Most importantly, at the end of the year, the inner disciples who are ranked out of the top 500 will lose their inner disciple status and become outer disciples again. If you want to recover, you will have to wait for half a year. And before that, there have already been 11 inner disciples who have been removed from the ranking. What a cruel competition! Yi Chen thought more deeply than the others. After listening to the exam master, it did not seem like a big deal, since only those who were ranked out of the top 500 would be removed from the ranking. As long as they were not too bad, then they would definitely be able to stay on the ranking. But the problem was, the inner disciples who were not ranked out of the top 500 would definitely not be willing to be removed from the ranking. So they would try their best to climb up. When a person managed to get into the top 500, they would be afraid of being pulled down by others, so they would definitely continue to work hard and fight for a higher rank. Only then would they be safe. But this way, the other people who were pulled down would be anxious. Who would want to be ranked out of the top 500? Of course not. So they would also try their best to climb up. The higher the ranking, the better. In the end, the entire list would become a chaotic battle, and only a small portion of people would be spared. Another inner disciple continued, "The rules of the ranking are very simple. You can challenge each other, but the condition is that the challengers must be in the same row. For example, a disciple in the 29th row can only challenge an inner disciple in the 29th row, and once he becomes the first disciple in the 29th row, he can challenge an inner disciple in the 28th row. Apart from that, there will be an inner disciple ranking competition in the middle of the year, and it will be a big event. The entire ranking list will be cleaned, and some inner disciples who are afraid of being challenged will have no reason to avoid it." "I see." Li Sheng sized up Yi Chen, his heart filled with envy. With Yi Chen's strength, it should be easy for him to make it into the top 400. It was unlikely that he would be eliminated, but Li Sheng would be in danger. At this time, a rather good-looking senior sister reminded them, "I suggest that you take on a few missions from the sect first, and then challenge other inner disciples. You have to know that if you have not experienced danger or killed before, it will have a great impact on your combat power, and the inner disciples who are challenged will not show mercy. That's right, being challenged will always make people unhappy. Those with good tempers might make you vomit blood, but those with bad tempers might make you lie in bed for a while. This is very common." Suddenly, a noise came from the front of the plaza. Everyone looked over and saw two young men with blood all over their clothes, carrying another young man whose life or death was unknown. "What happened to junior brother Liang?" someone hurriedly asked. The one on the left wiped his tears. "The disciples of the Purple Sun Martial School are too much. We were the ones who found the mission first, but they snatched it away and even tried to attack us. In order to protect us, senior brother Liang was punched 3 times and kicked 4 times. He is seriously injured. Fuck, those bastards from the Purple Sun Martial School. Just you wait, I will teach them a lesson when I get the chance. They are so cruel, they snatch the mission and still want to attack us." Hearing the angry voices of the crowd, Yi Chen started to feel the pressure of being a martial disciple. Inside the martial school, he had to fight for the ranking. But outside of the martial school, he had to face the provocations of other martial school disciples. If he was even a little bit careless, he could be killed or injured. Of course, this was not the only danger. Many of those underground martial artists had suffered at the hands of the martial schools before, and if they had the chance, they would definitely try to assassinate the martial school disciples. Seeing this, Wang Xuemei knew that she was not powerful enough. She bit her lips, turned around, and walked away quietly. Let's go to the pavilion of martial skills first. After becoming an inner disciple, he had half a year to train freely. Although he did not have to wait for half a year, he would definitely choose to train a couple of top-rank mortal realm martial arts. Even the King Kong Fist and the Golden Goose art seemed to be of a low rank. In the pavilion of martial skills. "Master, we meet again." This time, Yi Chen greeted the master first and showed him his inner disciple tag. The pavilion elder exclaimed, "An inner disciple token! Good boy. Hee, I just got promoted. Now I can go to the 2nd floor, right? There is no time limit, right?" Yi Chen laughed. "Of course not, go ahead." After saying this, the pavilion master was stunned for a long time. Then he said to himself, "This kid is a genius. He was only at mortal realm stage for at that time." 2nd floor. Standing at the entrance, Yi Chen thought to himself, "From now on, I can stay here as long as I want. How great!" There were not that many top-rank mortal realm martial arts. There were only about 100 of them. But to choose one that was suitable for him, it would be a bit difficult. First of all, he would have to choose a martial art. Before, the pure Yuan art had brought a lot of benefits to Yi Qin, so this time he would still choose this type of Zhen Qi martial art. Although the Mystic Gravity spell had special effects like the Mystic Gravity Field, it could only be used in close combat, so the overall evaluation would not be that high. 3 Purple Qi Flower Spell, a top-rank mortal realm martial art, divided into 7 stages. Once trained to the 3rd stage, a purple Zhen Qi flower will appear on top of your head. At the 5th stage, 2 purple Zhen Qi flowers will appear on top of your head. At the highest stage, the 7th stage, Zhen Qi will reach the peak of the 3 purple flowers. Azure River Spell, a top-rank mortal realm martial art, divided into 7 stages. Once trained to the 7th stage, 1 purple Zhen Qi flower will appear on top of your head. At the 5th stage, 2 purple Zhen Qi flowers will appear on top of your head. At the highest stage, the 7th stage will allow you to complete your Zhen Qi and gather all 3 flowers above your head. Azure River Spell, a top-rank mortal realm martial art, divided into 7 stages. Once trained to the 7th stage, the user will be able to gather the surrounding water Yuan Qi and increase the power of his attacks. If trained to the 7th stage, the user will be able to increase the power of his attacks. If trained to the 3rd stage, the user will be able to use the power of thunder and lightning to paralyze the user's body. After reading 3 martial arts in a row, Yi Qin couldn't help but sigh. They were indeed top-rank mortal realm martial arts. Every single one of them was extremely powerful. They were definitely not something a top-rank mortal realm martial art could compare with. The main reason why he was able to beat Huang Bingwen was that Huang Bingwen's cultivation was not high enough. Otherwise, he would have already killed him. As for beating Yi Tang and Yi Xian, it was all because of his powerful physical strength. His cultivation did not play much of a role. Thinking about it, Yi Chen felt lucky. If he only had these 3 martial arts to choose from, he would definitely choose the wind and thunder art. This martial art had a great effect on his movement skills, and in the later stages, it would be able to bring out the power of thunder and lightning. In his hands, it would definitely be able to bring out its full potential. However, it was still too early to choose. There might be better martial arts that he had not seen yet. Chapter 58. On the 2nd floor of the Pavilion of Martial Arts, Yi Qin picked up all the manuals one by one and put them back. These manuals were actually quite good. They all had their own strengths. For example, some could recover qi fast, which was good for prolonged battles. Some could explode Zhen Qi, which was good for quick fights. Some were good for defense, which was good for warriors who liked to fight head-on. And some had special effects, such as the mysterious heavy qi field of the art of martial arts or the art of grafting. All in all, none of the manuals that could reach the top-rank mortal realm were useless. Seeing that he was about to go through all the manuals on the 2nd floor, Yi Qin finally found one that he was very satisfied with. Pure Jun Zhen Qi, a top-rank mortal realm martial art, divided into 7 stages. According to the legends, it was the exclusive martial art of the Clear Stream Sword School 2,000 years ago. The first 4 stages focused on training Jin Qi, which could create sharpness. The 5th stage could create Qi Light, which could kill people within 10 steps. The 6th stage could go 1 step further, creating a protective Qi Light, which could attack and defend at the same time. The highest stage was the 7th stage, where all of the Zhen Qi in one's body could be combined into one, and one could create Qi swords with just a wave of one's hand, which could injure people from 100 steps away. Great, this is it. Yi Chen felt that there was no need to keep searching. This pure Jun Jin Qi was definitely a good fit for him. After deciding on the martial art, the next step was the flying art. The Golden Swallow art was only a high-rank mortal realm martial art, but even Yi Chen did not dare to ignore it. In other words, if he did not have the golden swallow art, his only trump card would be his physical strength. But he did not want to reveal too much about the pure jade body-boosting spell. Now that there was an opportunity to choose a top-rank mortal realm flying art, Yi Chun would not let it go. Moving shadows. Flying wind spell. 7-star cloud flying art. Crane shadow steps. All kinds of movement art manuals appeared in front of Yi Chen's eyes. He was almost dazzled by them. Shifting shadows, as the name suggests, allows one to shift one's body in a very short period of time to confuse the enemy's eyes and ears. Wind riding art allows the cultivator's body to become light and strong, as fast as the wind. 7-star cloud soaring art allows the cultivator to step on the 7 stars, allowing the cultivator to travel 1,000 miles. Crane shadow steps allows the cultivator to disappear without a trace. It didn't take long for Yi Chen to choose the crane shadow steps, just like how he chose the golden swallow skill. Finally, Yi Chen picked out a fist art manual. As for the sword art, he did not need it for now. The Lone Peak of 13 Swords was more than enough, since the complete Lone Peak of 13 Swords was also a top-rank mortal realm martial art. After leaving the martial skill pavilion, Yi Chen went straight back to his courtyard. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Early in the morning, a thin mist shrouded half of the Breeze Mountain. On a remote cliff, hissing sounds could be heard without end, dense and rapid. A gust of wind blew past, and the mist became thinner. A human figure could be vaguely seen standing there. In front of him was a huge rock, 3 meters tall and had a black color. The sound came from the human figure. If you looked closely, you would find that the mist around him could not even get within 3 feet of him, as if there was an invisible qi shield around him. Not only that, all the mist that got close to him was shredded into strands and strands. At first glance, it looked like the steam from boiling water. The human figure was, of course, Yi Chen. Right now, his eyes were slightly closed, and he was using all of his pure Jun Jin Qi. After a long time, Yi Chen moved. With a wave of his hand, an invisible qi light flew out of his hand and landed on the huge rock. Poof! Stone chips flew everywhere, and a half-foot-long mark appeared on the surface of the huge rock. The edge of the mark was as sharp as a knife. Poof! 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 The first qi ray was already extraordinarily swift and fierce, but the following qi rays were even more powerful. Every one of them was narrow and sharp, curved like a knife, and slashed at the huge rock, cutting out countless crisscrossing cracks. It was a ghastly sight. Zhen Qi like a blade. Is this the 6th level of pure Jun Jin Qi? Looking at the scarred boulder, Yi Chen felt a little emotional. Half a year ago, his full strength attack was only this powerful, but now he could casually send out dozens or even hundreds of them, and still have strength left over. If this dense qi aura hit a human body, they would be minced into meat paste. Intending to test the power of the qi light, Yi Chen took a deep breath and straightened his right hand like a blade, waving it in the air. Ka-cha! In the blink of an eye, the huge rock was pierced through, and a hair-thin crack quickly spread out. At the same time, Yi Chen walked towards the boulder. When the distance between the two was less than 3 feet, the surface of the giant rock slowly caved in, and the dark brown stone powder sputtered out in a spiral shape, covering the ground. A moment later, Yi Chen was almost pressed against the rock. When he stepped back and left, he saw an oval depression on the surface of the huge rock. The surface was smooth and exquisite, as if it had been meticulously polished. Good, this protective qi aura is amazing. Yi Chen let out a sigh. The so-called qi light was actually made up of countless sharp air currents. Any object that got close to it would be shattered into pieces. If one's Zhen Qi cultivation reached a certain level, even a well-tempered weapon would not be able to get close to it, and would be shattered into pieces. However, it was not easy to train to the 6th level of pure Jun Jin Qi. In the past 1.5 months, Yi Chen had trained his Jin Qi for a total of 108 times. After every training, he would break it again and again. Every time, he would be exhausted and sweating profusely. Of course, it was all worth it. The power of the pure Jun Jin Qi had already been demonstrated. It was way more powerful than most of the Jin Qi, and it was only at the 6th level. If he could train it to the 7th level, he would be able to use his Jun Qi to create Qi swords. By then, he would be able to kill his enemies from hundreds of steps away, which was way more powerful than any other martial skill. Unfortunately, the more powerful a martial art was, the harder it was to train it. Although Yi Chen's comprehensive ability was already on the top, he was not confident that he could reach the 7th level in a short period of time. Not to mention the peak of the 7th level, the completed pure Jun Jin Qi. I should train the crane shadow steps first. According to the rumors, there was a huge mountain in the west of the true spirit continent. There were thousands of years old spirit cranes living on the mountain. The wingspan of the spirit cranes was more than 100 meters, covering the whole sky. Every time it flew over the forest, a large number of trees would be broken. When it flew over the ocean, the waves would be hundreds of meters high, and when it flew over the desert, countless sandstorms would appear and drown everything. The 1,000 years old spirit cranes were not demonic beasts. Some people said they were divine birds, while others said they were rare species that were raised by powerful ancient martial artists. All kinds of rumors added to the mystery of the spirit cranes. Therefore, every year a lot of people would travel to the west of the true spirit continent, hoping to catch a glimpse of the spirit cranes. Whether it was true or not, the 1,000 years old spirit cranes had been around for thousands of years. That was why they were called the spirit cranes. 200 years ago, a flying artist came to the west of the true spirit continent from thousands of miles away, just like other people. After waiting for years, he finally saw the spirit cranes. Although the wingspan of the spirit cranes was less than 30 meters, it was still very magical. It could easily tear a small mountain apart with its claws, and when it jumped, it was impossible for the naked eye to follow it. With one leap, it could travel 10 miles. After being amazed, the flying artist spent years observing the spirit crane's movements every day and finally created a powerful flying art. This flying art was called the crane shadow steps. However, no one had ever seen the spirit cranes before, so they could not bring out the essence of the crane shadow steps. This caused the crane shadow steps to decline, and eventually it dropped to the top rank mortal realm. Coincidentally, the Crane Shadow Steps manual was found by an inner elder of the Sky Cloud Martial School and was stored in the Martial Skill Pavilion for his disciples to practice. Chapter 59. This secret was heard by Yi Chen from the Pavilion Master. The Pavilion Master was one of the practitioners of the Crane Shadow Steps. According to him, with his peak-level early clasping Yuan realm cultivation, if he performed the crane shadow steps with all his strength, he could reach 200 meters in one leap, which was more than half the speed of sound. However, even the Pavilion Master could not fully understand the essence of the crane shadow steps, so he had to train a low rank earth realm movement art called the flowing light movement art, which allowed him to travel up to 250 meters in a blink of an eye, which was 50 meters faster than the crane shadow steps. 250 meters, more than 3 times of mine. Yi Chen thought that he was very good at movement art. He could travel 70 to 80 meters in a blink of an eye, and normal mortal realm warriors would not even be able to see his shadow. However, compared to the Pavilion Master, the difference was obvious. If the Pavilion Master wanted to kill Yi Chen, it would only take him one attack. Forcing a laugh, Yi Chen knew that he was biting off more than he could chew. What kind of cultivation did the Pavilion Master have? And what kind of cultivation did he have? The two could not be compared at all. Once he reached the clasping Yuan realm, 250 meters might not be that shocking anymore. Without further ado, Yi Chen took out the Crane Shadow Steps manual from his storage ring and started to read from the first page. There were 3 key points to training the Crane Shadow Steps. The first was the body movement, the second was the chi flow, and the third was the mentality. The body movement and the chi flow were not that important, but the mentality was the key. The practitioner had to imagine that they were one with the crane, that they were one with the crane, that they could activate the mysterious potential in their body and increase their speed to a new level. It sounded easy. Wasn't it just fantasizing? Anyone with a bit of imagination could do it. However, fantasizing was just fantasizing. There were very, very few people who could really stimulate the potential in their bodies. There was less than 1 in 10,000, and there might not even be 1 in 100,000. It should be known that the human body was one of the most complicated objects in the world. Its mysteries could not be seen through in one's entire life. Only the fifth great realm of martial artists, the spirit ocean realm, could see the surface of it, understand some of the rules of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and apply it to themselves to slow down the aging process, living for hundreds of years. One more step would be the sixth great realm of martial artists, the life and death realm. Martial artists could completely stimulate the potential of the human body, reverse life and death, and break through the limit of life allowed by the world, living for more than 1,000 years. However, once one reached this realm, with every increase in cultivation, he would have to endure the heavenly punishment, such as the heavenly thunder tribulation, the wind and fire tribulation, or the Yuan spirit tribulation. Each tribulation had countless changes, and each change was divided into different levels. After passing through, one could continue to comprehend the heavenly Tao, preparing to step into the legendary seventh great realm of martial artists. Su King, Xianhou the Evil King, and the Dragon King were all martial artists who had stepped into the life and death realm. They had a lifespan of 1,000 years, and the potential in their bodies had been fully unleashed. If they were to learn the crane shadow steps, they would be able to master it without much effort. Unfortunately, with their status and power, they would not be interested in the crane shadow steps manual. Perhaps even 1,000 years old spirit crane was nothing in their eyes. Of course, stimulating one's potential was only one of the profound mysteries of the human body. It was not the whole thing. After 1,000 years, one would still die completely. Let's not talk about this for now. Yi Chen let out a sigh when he thought about how to stimulate the potential of the human body. Although he only needed a tiny bit of it, he still sighed. No wonder so many people couldn't understand the essence of the crane shadow steps. After all, they had never seen a spirit crane before. So how could they understand the habits and concept of a spirit crane? Whatever. Even without the spiritual perspective of the spirit crane, the crane shadow steps was still one of the best top-rank mortal realm movement art. A lot of people wanted to learn it, but couldn't. After the slight disappointment, Yi Chen's fighting spirit was reignited. The first thing he needed to do was to master the crane shadow steps to its peak. Everything else could wait. It was said that there was no sun or moon in the mountains, and it was not a lie at all. A month's time had passed while Yi Chen was diligently practicing the crane shadow steps. Maybe it was because the crane shadow steps could stimulate one's potential, or maybe it was because hardworking people tended to grow faster, but Yi Chen, who was only 15 years old, had grown from 7 meters to 75 meters. Although he was a little skinny, he did not look skinny at all when he took off his clothes. He had broad shoulders and a narrow waist, and the muscles on his arms and chest were extremely strong. Just by standing there, he had an awe-inspiring aura. After a month of training, Yi Chen had completely mastered the crane shadow steps. His pure Jun Zhen Qi had also reached the peak of the 6th stage, and his protective Qi layer had turned from transparent to light green. Now he could just casually use the crane shadow steps to fly to the sea of clouds on the other side of the cliff, and then use his protective Qi layer to cut open a path, then turn back. It was as if he had really turned into a spirit crane, and the gravity could no longer restrict his body. Now I can reach 100 meters in one leap, and with the protective Qi layer on the outside and the pure jade body boosting spell on the inside, my power has almost doubled. If I meet that Chui shimming again, I should be able to beat him within 3 attacks. But he is only a normal mid-condensing reality realm warrior. He is not a genius, and most of his martial skills have not been mastered yet, so they are not worth mentioning. If I meet a peak early condensing reality realm warrior who has mastered a few martial skills, it would still be very difficult for me to beat him. Too bad I don't have the chance to test it out, otherwise I would know what my real power level is and what my limit is. Yi Qin calculated in his mind, but he was still not sure. He thought of himself as a genius, but the true spirit continent did not lack geniuses. Before him, there was Shen Ho, who had reached the life and death realm at the age of 10 and was on the same level as Su King. After him, there were the top 4 childs of the Windy Nation. They were called the top 4 childs because they were talented in all aspects. Otherwise, it would be hard to convince the public. Of course, Yi Qin only admired the top 4 childs of the Windy Nation, but it was not enough to move him. The Windy Nation was only a small nation in the South Shore region, and there were 24 small nations in the South Shore region, 10 medium-sized nations, and 3 large nations. Even a small nation like the Windy Nation had people like the top 4 childs. It was not hard to imagine how powerful the other nations that were bigger than the Windy Nation would be. Not to mention the others, the Rudra Nation, which was right next to the Windy Nation, did not take the Windy Nation seriously at all. They often sent out soldiers to harass the borders of the Windy Nation, or asked their soldiers to dress up as bandits to rob the caravans of the Windy Nation. Besides the national power, the Rudra Nation had always been full of geniuses. Sometimes they even had more geniuses than most of the small nations, and could even be compared with the medium-sized nations. If it were not for the top 4 childs, the Windy Nation would have already become a laughingstock. Dang, dang, dang. Right then, a series of bell ringing came from the middle of the Windy Mountain, shaking hundreds of miles. Yi Chen's eyebrows twitched. In the Sky Cloud Martial School, only the Floating Cloud Palace would ring the bell. For example, during the Inner Disciple exam, it did not count as ringing the bell, it was just smashing the bell. There was a huge difference between the two. There must be a lot of missions from the school. No matter what, I have to go check it out first. His body blurred, and the next second, Yi Chen had already flown to a big tree 100 meters away. He flashed a couple of times, then disappeared without a trace. Chapter 60. Inside the majestic Floating Cloud Palace, there were hundreds of disciples gathered, and from time to time, there would be other disciples arriving. Stepping into the palace, Yi Chen looked up. The palace was still empty, even though there were hundreds of people gathered there. The floor was paved with green steel stones, and on both sides of the walls, there were 9 stone pillars that reached the sky. They were green with a hint of red, and each of them had a flying dragon carved on them. Inside the stone pillars, there was a jade wall every 30 steps, and the jade walls were covered with paper. Yi Qin, you are here too. A person walked in from outside the palace. It was Wu Zongming. He already knew that Yi Chen had been promoted to an inner disciple, so he did not look surprised. Yi Chen turned around and said, I have been training for 3 months, and I felt that I would not be able to make any more progress in a short period of time, so I came to have a look. Wu Zongming laughed. I can't compare to you. I had to train for 5 months before I dared to take on the mission. Oh, right, this is your first time here, so you might not know much about the school missions. Let me tell you about them. Thank you. Yi Qin indeed wanted to know more about the school missions. There are actually 2 types of school missions. One is the bounty missions that are entrusted to the school by other forces. For example, a small family can't do something, so they can spend a lot of money to entrust the school with the task. Then the school will evaluate the difficulty of the mission and give it to their disciples. The other type is the school missions that are assigned by the school themselves, also known as the school missions. The rewards of the school missions might not be as high as the bounty missions, but you can get a small amount of soul stones. So if you want to know what kind of mission it is, you just have to look at the rewards. The bounty missions can only get you gold, while the school missions can get you both gold and soul stones. Yi Qin nodded, so that's how it is. Also, according to the difficulty, the missions are divided into several levels. The lowest level is the white mission, which is suitable for early condensing reality realm warriors, the gray mission, which is suitable for mid-condensing reality realm warriors, and the black mission, which is usually only accepted by late condensing reality realm warriors. As for the black mission, it is the elder mission, which is not something we can look at anymore. Now, look at the color of the jade walls, and you'll know the level of the mission. Wu Zongming pointed at the jade walls in the palace. Hearing Wu Zongming, Yi Qin took a closer look and found that the two jade walls near the door were white in color, which meant that the missions on them should be white missions. According to the rules of the left side and the right side, the one on the left side of the door was for the school missions, and the one on the right side was for the bounty missions. Behind them were two gray jade walls, and behind the gray jade walls were two black jade walls. There were the least number of disciples standing there, only 7 or 8 of them. Most of them were at the late condensing reality realm, and there were even some core disciples among them. Clearing his throat, Wu Zongming continued. Besides that, the missions of the same level are also divided into different levels of difficulty. They are 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, and the highest 5-star difficulty. With my current strength, I can only take on 3-star white missions. 4-star missions would be life-threatening, and 5-star missions would basically be a one-way trip. Yi Qin asked, "Can we form a team to complete the missions?" Wu Zongming nodded and said, "That's right. For example, I can only take on 3-star white missions. If I want to take on a 4-star white mission, I would have to find 1 or 2 inner disciples who are at the same level as me. In this way, once the mission is completed, I would be able to get more rewards than the previous 3-star white missions." "Oh, is that so?" Hearing Wu Zongming's explanation, Yi Chen's interest in the school missions had increased a lot. However, he did not plan to form a team with anyone yet. He would think about it in the future. "All right, I will go and say hello to a few of my senior disciples. I have teamed up with them last time." Wu Zongming saw that Yi Chen had basically understood the situation, so he did not waste any more time. Yi Chen thanked him again. After Wu Zongming left, Yi Chen first walked to the white jade wall on the right. Just as he expected, the white jade wall on the right had a bounty mission written on it. The reward was only gold. There were no soul stones. He looked down from above. On the first piece of paper, there was a black skull, and below the skull there were words. Mission: eliminate the skeleton bandit group. Crimes: robbing passing merchants, killing people for their goods, raping women, heinous crimes. Strength analysis: the leader of the horse gang is a peak early condensing reality realm warrior. The second and third leaders are experienced early condensing reality realm warriors. They have 30 to 40 people and dozens of powerful bows. Mission difficulty: 5 stars reward, 30,000 gold. Suggestion: 5 peak level early condensing reality realm warriors or 2 mid condensing reality realm warriors. After reading the description, Yi Chen gasped. This 5-star white rank mission was way too difficult. It turned out to be eliminating a horse gang. The more people there were, the better it would be. Even if one's cultivation was 1 level higher, it would still not be enough. If one was careless, he might even lose his life. No wonder it was suggested to have 5 peak early condensing reality realm warriors or 2 mid condensing reality realm warriors. If one went alone, it would be suicide. But it was just a suggestion after all. It was aimed at the disciples who were not very talented. For a genius like Yi Chen, it was nothing new to challenge someone who was at a higher cultivation level. If he took this mission, Yi Chen had more than 90% confidence that he could complete it. But would there be any problems if he took on such a difficult mission right from the start? After thinking for a while, Yi Chen decided to give up on the 5-star white rank mission for now. It was not that he was afraid of trouble, but he was just being cautious. He decided to take on a low difficulty white rank mission first. Once he had a thorough understanding of the mission's difficulty, he would then take on a high difficulty mission. This mission is mine. Suddenly, a hand pulled the paper. With a swoosh, the mission list of eliminating the skeleton horse gang fell into the hand of the person who took the mission. Yi Qin turned his head and looked over. The one who took the mission was a tall teenager with a pair of thick black eyebrows. Just by standing there, his whole body was emitting an extremely oppressive aura, which made the surrounding disciples take half a step back uncontrollably. "It's Senior Brother Wang." Brother Wang? Yi Chen did not recognize him, but the Zhen Qi vibration coming from him was very strong. He was at least a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. The tall teenager chuckled, then turned around and left. Without being affected too much, Yi Chen put his attention back on the jade board and looked down. The third line: Mission: Kill the Bloody Butcher. Crimes: Raping women, killing people like flies. Analysis: Peak Early Condensing Reality Realm Warrior. Difficulty: 3 stars reward for 1,000 taels of gold. Suggestion: 2 peak level Early Condensing Reality Realm Warriors or 1 Mid Condensing Reality Realm Warrior. Yi Chen's eyes brightened. That's him. Chapter 61. The Bloody Butcher's power was at most equivalent to a mid-condensing reality realm warrior, not to mention the current Yi Chen. Even if he had just reached the condensing reality realm, he would not be afraid. To be honest, choosing this white rank mission was a bit of an overkill. After all, there was no need to rush. However, Yi Chen did not think that way. This was only his first mission, and he did not want to make any mistakes. He had to make sure that nothing would go wrong. Once he had enough experience, he would be able to choose the more difficult missions. There were always missions, and it was not like this was his first time. There was no need to rush. Tearing down the mission sheet, Yi Chen did not rush to leave. He turned around and walked to the white jade board. The first line of the mission was a 4-star white rank mission. It was obviously easier than killing the skeleton bandits. The reward was 5,000 gold and 2 low-rank soul stones, which did not seem like much at all. However, accounts could not be calculated in this way. The value of a low-grade spirit stone was between 1,000 and 1,500 silvers, but the key was to have a place to buy it. Especially for an individual, it was very difficult to buy a spirit stone. You could only come across one in an auction. Therefore, this was only the normal value of a low-grade spirit stone. Most of the time, it was not normal. Sometimes a low-grade spirit stone could be sold up to 2,000 or 3,000 silvers. Because of this, although the rewards of the missions were low, they were very popular among the disciples who were in need of low-rank soul stones. Every time a mission appeared, it would be taken. There were dozens of mission sheets on the first line of the white jade board. Now there was only one left. It would probably be taken by someone soon. Yi Chen was not in need of soul stones, and the rewards of the white rank missions were too little. He did not want to join in the fun at all. When he walked out of the floating cloud palace, Wu Zoming happened to walk out at the same time. "Yi Chen, what kind of mission did you take?" Yi Chen waved the mission sheet in his hand. 3-star white rank mission. Wu Zoming laughed. "Just like you, I also took a 3-star white rank mission. Go to the wind chime town and kill a bloodthirsty 2-tailed leopard." 2-tailed leopard, very fast. The 2-tailed leopard was a rank 3 beast. It was not very powerful. It was about the same as a normal condensing reality realm warrior, but it was as fast as the wind, very hard to deal with. "That's true. I need to go back and prepare. Let's talk again when we have time." "All right then." After parting with Wu Zongming, Yi Chen saw that it was still early and walked down the mountain. Blackstone Village, a remote village near the Blackstone mountain range. The area of the town was not large, and there were no tall buildings. It was surrounded by a simple wooden fence. Its purpose was nothing more than to guard against sneak attacks from low-level demonic beasts. After all, demonic beasts frequently appeared in the wilderness. If one was not careful, they would become prey. On the road not far from Blackstone Town, the youth slowed down his horse. According to the information, the Bloody Butcher came to this area 3 days ago, and within a few hundred miles, Blackstone Town is the only place where people can live, unless he went somewhere else during this time. The young man was Yi Chin. It had been a day and 2 nights since he had accepted the mission. During this time, he had traveled nonstop and arrived at Blackstone Town, which was 3,000 miles away. Whatever, let's go in and take a look first. With a slight push from his legs, Yi Chin urged the dark brown horse to gallop towards the entrance of Darkstone Town. After entering the town, Yi Chin got off the horse and led it as he walked. The environment of the town was not very good. The road was full of potholes, and the shops on both sides of the road looked very old, as if they had not been repaired for a long time. Compared to the windy town, this was like a village. The two were not even on the same level. Of course, Yi Chin did not care about the environment. His purpose here was to kill the Bloody Butcher, and he would leave soon. In the middle of the town, there was a 2-story restaurant. Maybe this was the busiest place in Blackstone Town. On the 2nd floor, there was a burly man sitting by the window. He was wearing brown clothes, and his wild hair was draped over his shoulders. The hand that was holding the wine glass was thick and had thick calluses. It was as hard as iron, and it was slightly black. As for his face, it was very scary. The crisscrossing knife scars had almost ruined his face. Only his eyes were shining and emitted a cruel aura. After eating a few pieces of beef and drinking a glass of wine, the burly man turned around and said to a teenager in purple, "Who are you? It seems like you have been staring at me for a long time." The teenager in purple put down the chopsticks in his hand and said arrogantly, "You are the Bloody Butcher?" "That's right." The burly man licked his lips. "It seems like my luck is quite good. Do you want to kill yourself, or do you want me to kill you myself? Choose one." Hearing him, the Bloody Butcher laughed out loud. "You are just a small peak of the early condensing reality, Realm Warrior. How dare you say something like that? You have underestimated me. Looking at your clothes, you must be an inner disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School, right? Unfortunately, you will die here today." He had killed many people, and was often chased by disciples from different martial institutions. But he still managed to survive. But last time he was really unlucky. He ran into an inner disciple from the North Snow Martial Academy, who was at the same cultivation level as him. His blizzard sword art was extremely sharp, which almost killed him. Fortunately, the experience of living on the edge of a knife was not useless. At the most dangerous moment, he fought back like crazy, as if he was ready to risk his life. That North Snow Martial Academy disciple was still inexperienced, so he did not plan to fight him head-on. Instead, he wanted to kill him slowly. But in the end, he was killed by the Bloody Butcher with one palm attack. The Bloody Butcher did not have it easy either. His face had been cut dozens of times by the sword light, which made him look like this. The purple-clothed youth slowly stood up. "I've eaten and drunk my fill. Since you're so stubborn, don't blame me for being ruthless. I forgot to tell you that my name is Tung Yunlong, and I'm the one who's going to kill you." He, the Bloody Butcher, also stood up. He did not say anything, but stared at the space behind Tung Yunlong, as if there was someone there that caught his attention. Tung Yunlong looked confused as he turned around. "Little brat, you are still too young." The Bloody Butcher laughed proudly. He raised his thick right hand, which was surrounded by a bloody aura, and threw a palm attack towards Tung Yunlong. Tung Yunlong was furious. Despicable. He threw a palm attack back. Boom! A powerful shockwave spread out in all directions. All of the tables and chairs on the 2nd floor were shattered. Some of the diners did not manage to dodge in time, and were bleeding from all of their orifices. After the sound, Tung Yunlong was thrown out of the 2nd floor and fell on the bumpy street. His clothes were torn, and his face was pale. The next second, the Bloody Butcher chased after him and threw out another palm attack. He yelled, "Slaughtering Yuan Bloody Hand." The Bloody Jin Chi turned into a huge palm print in the air and pressed towards Tung Yunlong, which made all of his Jin Qi and Qi stagnate. At this critical moment, Tung Yunlong bit the tip of his tongue and threw out 2 palms filled with purple Jin Qi. Chapter 62. Zhenyang Palm. Tung Yunlong's palms released a layer of purple qi, which was extremely hot. Wherever it passed, the air started to boil like boiling water. When the bloody palm and the purple qi layer collided, the air started to twist. Then a bright purple light exploded, trying to break through the bloody palm. However, the palm was extremely solid and had the effect of destroying Jin Qi. Once the purple light touched the palm, it was like snow in the sun. It started to melt. In the blink of an eye, 30% of the Jin Qi layer had been destroyed, and the remaining 70% had been destroyed immediately. Puff! Tung Yunlong spat out a mouthful of blood. He was blown away. The bloody butcher would not give up on such a great opportunity. He chased after Tung Yunlong as he landed on the ground. He laughed arrogantly. Although my Qi slaughtering bloody hand is a top-rank mortal realm martial skill, it specializes in destroying Jin Qi. Plus, you did not have time to accumulate your power. You could only use 70% of your power. You are no match for me. Bloody butcher, do you really think I am a fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered by you? Hearing this, a ferocious expression flashed across Tung Yunlong's face. As he retreated, he reached into his robe and took out a pill. This pill was about the size of a longan fruit. Its surface was crystal clear, and it contained a red light that resembled a raging flame. Tung Yunlong swallowed the pellet without any hesitation. His purple robe started to flutter in the air. It was obvious that he was using all of his Jin Qi. The next second, Tung Yunlong's face turned bright red. His earthworm-sized veins popped up under his skin, reaching all the way to his hair. The bloody butcher was shocked. Heart-burning pellet. Kalala! The ground cracked under Tung Yunlong's feet. Tung Yunlong stopped moving backward. His body was surrounded by a faint red light. His aura was no weaker than a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. That's right, it is our martial institution's heart-burning pellet. Within 15 minutes after swallowing it, your Jin Qi will start to boil. It will increase your cultivation by 1 level. Plus, the effect of the pellet will be endless, and all of your previous injuries will be suppressed. As Tung Yunlong spoke, he put his right hand 3 inches away from his dantian and slowly pulled it up, as if he was preparing for the last moment to bring the pellet's effect to its peak. Before this, there were already a lot of onlookers. Some of them were lone travelers, and Yi Chen was one of them. I did not expect an inner disciple from the Purple Sun Martial School to be ahead of me. This is going to be a bit troublesome. But luckily, the Bloody Butcher is not that easy to take care of. His power is not that important. He is only as powerful as a normal mid-condensing reality realm warrior. But he is very experienced. He can use his power to 120%. Even a mid-condensing reality realm warrior would not be able to do anything to him. Holding his horse and standing at the back of the crowd, Yi Chen thought to himself. Seeing what had happened to Tung Yunlong and hearing the Bloody Butcher talk about the heart-burning pellet, Yi Chen realized that Tung Yunlong still had a way to save his life. The heart-burning pellet was unique to the Purple Yang Martial School. They could only make less than 10 of them in a year, and each of them could be sold for more than 10,000 silvers. It was something that many warriors wanted. It seemed like Tung Yunlong wanted to kill the Bloody Butcher at all costs. After all, a heart-burning pellet was worth tens of thousands of silvers, and killing the Bloody Butcher would only be worth 4,000 silvers. It would be a waste to kill the Bloody Butcher. Brat, so what if you took the heart-burning pellet? Die. Tung Yunlong even had a heart-burning pellet. He was obviously valued by the Purple Yang Martial School. Maybe he had other valuable things with him. Thinking about this, the Bloody Butcher's aura grew even stronger, and he threw a palm attack towards Tung Yunlong. Shoo! The air was pierced through by the bloody palm attack, bringing up waves of ripples. It looked like it was going to kill Tung Yunlong with one hit. Tung Yunlong let out a long roar. and the red light around his body suddenly increased by 30%. The strong Jin Qi vibration made the windows around them shake, making creaking sounds. You want to kill me? Die. Tang Yunlong did not move back. Instead, he drew a half circle in the air with his right hand. A purple and red ball of qi came together and turned into a light ball, flying towards the bloody palm attack. Boom, boom, boom. The buildings on both sides of the street cracked open, and a shockwave that was powerful enough to kill a tiger spread out in all directions, blowing away all the people who were watching the fight from afar. The two of them each took 3 steps back and then started fighting again. Boom, 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 boom. The wind from their palms whistled, and the shadows of their figures overlapped one another. The crackling sounds of energy explosions rang out incessantly. The two of them fought from the east to the west, from the street to the rooftop of the restaurant. They fought everywhere. After a while, a shadow suddenly flew back and landed on top of a house. It was the bloody butcher. Trying to buy time? No way. Tang Yunlong sneered. He jumped towards his opponent and threw out a palm attack. The bloody butcher did not seem to want to dodge. He slightly spread his legs and straightened his right palm, taking Tang Yunlong's attack head-on. Dong! Ah! After the loud sound, there was a scream. Tang Yunlong's body was smashed into the wall of the restaurant. His eyes were wide open as if he had seen a ghost. He said weakly, "You are so despicable. How could you hide your real power?" Hee. I had already reached the mid-condensing reality realm half a month ago. I was just afraid that I would be chased by people who were even more powerful than me, so I had to hide my real power. This way, I could live a free life, play with you so-called martial disciples, and get a lot of wealth from you. Why not? The bloody butcher paused for a second, then continued, "After I get all your wealth, I will leave the Windy Nation and go to another nation. Then I will change my name. By then, no one will be able to find me. Ha 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 ha." At the end of his speech, the bloody butcher laughed proudly. Although he was not very powerful, he had played with a lot of beautiful women. Some of them were from big families. He had killed so many people that he had lost count. At least, he could fill up this restaurant. However, he was lucky. He was still alive, and he had more than $1 million with him. No matter where he went, he could make a name for himself. Tang Yunlong's eyes were wide open, and he breathed his last breath unwillingly. At the moment of his death, he regretted not running away. He regretted accepting this task, and he regretted encountering the bloody butcher, this evil and cunning villain. If he had a second chance in life, he would definitely choose to live on. He would not risk his life for the so-called fame. Seeing that Tang Yunlong was dead, the bloody butcher was still worried. He threw out a palm attack and shattered Tang Yunlong's chest, then walked up to him, ready to search his body. The bloody butcher is so cunning. A clear voice came from the crowd. The bloody butcher stopped walking and looked towards the direction of the voice. His face darkened. "Who is it?" "The one who will take your head." Yi Qin slowly walked out from the crowd. Chapter 63. The bloody butcher glanced at Yi Qin. He was wearing a white robe with a long sword on his waist. He was about 15 years old, handsome, and had a pure qi. The bloody butcher sneered. "It seems like quite a lot of people have accepted this mission. I just killed an inner disciple from the Purple Sun Martial School, and now another from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Will the inner disciples from the Rudra Martial School and the Emerald Martial Palace come as well? Unfortunately, you are even more stupid than him. You know that I am a mid-condensing reality realm warrior, and you still want to take my head. You really don't know how to spell the word death." If Yi Qin was a late condensing reality realm warrior, the bloody butcher would not even think about fighting him, and would definitely run away. But judging from the vibration of Yi Qin's Jinqi, he was only at the early condensing reality realm, not even at the peak. Although that Jinqi was a bit strange, it was extremely pure and sharp, as if it was made up of countless tiny blades, but it was still nothing to him. Yi Qin's expression did not change. He said, You are only at the mid-condensing reality realm, but you can pretend to be at the peak of the early condensing reality realm. You must have trained some kind of supplementary martial art, right? I am very interested. This kind of supplementary martial art did not have much effect on increasing one's power, but sometimes it could be more effective than one's own power. For example, one could hide one's real power and wait for the enemy to be careless, then suddenly counterattack. Or one could suppress one's own power and enter some ancient ruins with restrictions on cultivation. The Bloody Butcher frowned. Yi Chen's calm tone made him feel a little bit of danger, as if something terrible was going to happen. But as soon as the thought appeared, he denied it. How could it be? An early condensing reality, realm warrior. Even if he was a genius, he would not be able to win against me. The inner disciple from the North Snow Martial Academy was an example. No matter how talented he was, he still died in my hands. Thinking of this, the Bloody Butcher grinned and said, "Dead. People don't need to know so much." Earth explosion. Before he could finish his sentence, the Bloody Butcher stomped on the ground. The ground cracked open, and a pitch-black crack extended towards Yi Chen's location like lightning. Then, there was a loud explosion. The pebbles were like hidden weapons, shooting out in all directions, covering an area of more than 8 zhang. The buildings on both sides were instantly riddled with thousands of holes, and the people who were close to them were pierced into sieves. They fell to the ground in terror, dying with their eyes wide open. Looking at the site of the explosion, there was a huge crater that was 5 feet wide and 3 feet deep, and there were no corpses or bones left. Ha ha ha. If I, the Bloody Butcher, want you dead by midnight, I won't let you live until midnight. In your next life, be more careful. It had been a long time since the Bloody Butcher had had such a good time. He had killed 2 disciples from the martial school in a row, and it was as easy as blowing off dust. The only pity was that the 2 disciples had been torn into pieces by the explosion, and the gold notes were definitely gone. After a slight heartache, the Bloody Butcher thought it through. He already had millions of gold coins, and a little more or less didn't matter. The lone travelers in the Jianghu looked at each other. This Bloody Butcher was too powerful. An early condensing reality, realm warrior, could not even take 1 attack from him, and died without even a corpse left. Luckily, he did not lose his mind, or else he would be the one dead. As the Bloody Butcher was about to bend down and search Ting Yunlong's body, a sword light suddenly enlarged in front of him. What he saw was Yi Chen, who was wearing a white robe. He looked like a ghost under the sun, but he also had an otherworldly aura. He flashed past in front of his eyes at an almost instantaneous speed. Swoosh! A stream of blood shot out from the Bloody Butcher's neck, shooting out 3 meters away. "You are not dead." With every word the Bloody Butcher said, a huge amount of blood came out from his neck. Standing 5 steps behind the Bloody Butcher, Yi Chen put his sword back into its scabbard and said lightly, "I wanted to talk to you for a bit longer. Too bad." Bam! A self-deprecating look flashed through the Bloody Butcher's eyes. His head tilted and fell down from his neck. His body fell down as well, and his blood stained the ground. Turning around, Yi Chen slightly shook his head. If it was a real fair fight, it would take him at least 3 attacks to kill the Bloody Butcher. After all, the Bloody Butcher was more powerful than Cui Shiming, and in terms of cunning, even 2 Cui Shimings would not be able to compete with him. However, the Bloody Butcher had underestimated him from the very beginning. Otherwise, even if Yi Chen's sword could hit the Bloody Butcher, it would have been blocked by his protective Zhen Qi. However, Yi Chen had forgotten one thing. After training the crane shadow steps, his speed was unbelievably fast. Just when the Bloody Butcher wanted to circulate his qi, it was already too late. The Bloody Butcher had been cautious his whole life, but at the last moment he had been careless. Of course, no matter how cautious he had been, the moment Yi Chen decided to kill him, his life no longer belonged to him. This was the absolute power, the absolute advantage, and nothing could make up for it. Those lone travelers who had not left yet had their mouths wide open. They were all shocked. All they saw was Yi Chen's sword attack, and then the bloody butcher's head fell off. They had no idea what had happened. Sword attack, head fall. What a clean cut! What kind of skill was this? Just like a killer hiding in the dark. If he didn't make a move, then he would definitely kill. This kid is terrifying. A lone traveler said in a low voice. Another person said, I feel like I see the shadow of young Master North Snow in him. He is also very young, and he also has the same ability to kill. However, if he wants to reach the same level as young Master North Snow, there is one person who is his biggest rival. Who? Who else could it be? The third disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, Lynch. This guy is not very talented, but he can always do things that ordinary people can't. He defeated Quick Blade Wu Wanshan with only 10 attacks, cut the waterfall in half with 1 attack, and scared the red smelting bird off with his chi. The leader of the North Snow Martial Academy said that among all the disciples, he was the one who had the highest chance of learning the blade intent. Even young Master North Snow didn't get such an evaluation. Blade intent? Are you kidding me? Even blade artists who have reached the clasping yuan realm can barely learn the blade intent. In the entire Windy Nation, only the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy has reached this level. What level are you at? What level is the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy? How could he be lying? Plus, he only said it was most likely. He didn't say it was certain. That's true. But this kid is much weaker than Lynch. He still has a long way to go if he wants to compete with Lynch. All the martial artists were discussing and expressing their own opinions. Yi Chen did not hear these discussions. He was focusing all his attention on the bloody butcher. As a bounty criminal, he would usually carry a large amount of money with him, ranging from hundreds of thousands of taels to tens of thousands of taels. This was also the reason why the disciples of the various sects went crazy. After all, once luck came, it was impossible to stop it, and one could become a millionaire overnight. Chapter 64. After searching all over the bloody butcher's body, Yi Chen did not find anything valuable, only a few hundred gold notes and some silver. Am I really that unlucky? No. This bloody butcher said that he had gotten a huge amount of wealth from the dead disciples of his martial institutions, and he also said that he would leave the Windy Nation and go to another country. There is no way that he only has this amount of money with him. Then there must be something else. Yi Chen did not believe it, so he released his soul power and searched every inch of the bloody butcher's body. After a while, Yi Chen's eyes brightened. He reached out his hand and touched the bloody butcher's belt. Inside the belt, there was a small protrusion that looked like a ring. When he touched it, he felt a light wave of spirit chi. It's a storage ring, I see. Yi Chen could not help but admire the bloody butcher's cunning, hiding the most valuable thing inside the belt. If it were not for Yi Chen's powerful soul power, he would have missed it and lost the chance to make a fortune. There were too many people around, so Yi Chen poured his Zhen Qi into his fingertip and quietly cut open the bloody butcher's belt. He took out the storage ring and put it into his own storage ring without even looking at it. As for Tung Yunlong's wealth, Yi Chen thought it would be troublesome, so he did not take it in case the Purple Sun Martial School would blame him for Ting Yunlong's death. After searching the body, Yi Chen started to look at the bloody butcher's head. The head looked hideous, with countless scars on it. The mouth and the nose were indistinguishable, but the eyes were wide open, staring at Yi Chen. Shaking his head, Yi Chen took out a piece of black cloth from his storage ring. He reached out his hand, and the bloody butcher's head landed on the black cloth. Yi Chen quickly wrapped the black cloth and tied a knot on it, wrapping the head tightly. From the outside, only the outline of the head could be seen. With this, he could go to the Floating Cloud Palace to collect the reward and record his score. Young warrior, you can't just leave like this. My restaurant is ruined and so many customers died. What should I do? Thinking that Yi Chen was a disciple of a martial school, so he would not kill innocent people. The 40-year-old owner ran out with tears and snot running down his face. Yi Qin frowned. This restaurant was destroyed by the Bloody Butcher and Tun Yunlong, and most of the customers were killed by the shockwave from their battle. It had nothing to do with him. But now that the Bloody Butcher was dead, and he had all of his wealth, it would not be right if he did not pay for it. A thought flashed through his mind. Yi Chen took out 2 gold notes, each worth 1,000 silvers, and said, "Here are 20,000 silvers. It is enough to buy your restaurant and compensate those innocent people who died. But you have to remember, only 1,000 silvers belongs to you. If you dare to take even a single cent, the next person to die will be you." The Blackstone town was located in a remote area. The buildings were old, and the value of a restaurant was less than 1,000 silver. But it was hard to calculate the value of human lives. A rich family could not even afford a few 100,000 silver. But if it was a disciple of a big family, he would have to pay with his life. Money, they had it all. According to the law of the Windy Nation, an ordinary person who died in an accident would have to pay 500 silver to his family, which was enough for an ordinary family to live for 10 years. Now that Yi Chen had taken out 20,000 silver, minus the 1,000 silver from the restaurant, the remaining 19,000 silver could be used to pay for 38 families, and the number of people who died was far less than 38. Maybe it was the sorrow of the poor, but compared to the lives of their families and the 500 silver, they would rather choose the latter. At least the latter could guarantee them 10 years of peace, and they would have enough money for their children to marry, and they could even repair their houses. The owner kept nodding. "Young warrior, don't worry. There are so many people here as witnesses. I would not dare to take a single silver." "I hope so." Yi Chen thought about it and agreed. Handing the gold notes to the owner, Yi Chen was about to leave when those Jianghu people surrounded him. "Young warrior, you are so powerful. The Bloody Butcher killed people like flies. A lot of people wanted to kill him, but they were killed by him. Today, with the death of the Bloody Butcher, I wonder how many people are grateful to you. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling face." Yi Chen said, "You are flattering me. Even if I didn't kill him, someone else would have. May I know your name, young warrior? We all respect you." Yi Chen thought about the fact that the reason he traveled the martial world was for fame. Sometimes, even if he didn't care about fame, people would still respect him because of his fame. In the end, he still couldn't escape the shackles of fame, so he decided to be generous and said, "I am a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Yi Chen." "Young warrior Yi, I am the dual blade artist Su Shan. I am the deadly crutch son, Rahai. I am the iron leg Lu Wan." All of a sudden, the martial artists all announced their names. They all thought that they were quite famous in this area, and if they could establish a relationship with an inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, they would be even more famous in the future, and people would look up to them when they went out. Yi Chen forced a smile. Sometimes fame was not a good thing. It could cause a lot of trouble. When he finally got rid of those people, it was already afternoon. Riding on the dark brown horse, Yi Chen left. On the road with few people, Yi Chen took out the Bloody Butcher's spirit ring from his storage ring and sent his soul power into it. Hoo! A faint vibration spread out, and Yi Chen saw the space inside the spirit ring. The space was 1 square meter, which was the size of a small room. It was filled with gold and silver, and the golden light made it bright. Counting carefully, there were more than 10,000 gold taels and 300,000 silver taels piled on the ground. There was also a stack of gold notes at the side, adding up to 60,000 silver taels. In total, there were more than 100,000 gold taels, which was equivalent to more than 1,000,000 silver taels. Even Yi Chen's father only had a few 100,000 silvers. Although he did not need to spend his own money, and everything was covered by his family, it was enough to prove his wealth. Besides money and other common things, there were a few martial arts manuals on a small bookshelf in the corner. Yi Chen moved his mind and took out the martial art manual from the top of the bookshelf. On the cover of the manual, there were 4 shocking blood-red characters. Blood Hand of Chi Butcher. He opened it. Blood Hand of Chi Butcher. Top rank mortal realm martial skill. The exclusive martial art of the rank 7 evil blood martial school in Rudra Nation. The user needs to absorb the rare evil blood chi from the natural environment. The stronger the evil blood chi, the more powerful it will be. Once mastered, the user can easily break through the protective Jin Chi layer of other warriors at the same level and take their lives. It was a martial art from the rank 7 evil blood martial school in Rudra Nation. Yi Chen was a bit confused. The evil blood martial school was one of the top martial institutions in Rudra Nation, and their overall power was even higher than the Emerald Martial Palace. Their disciples were extremely evil, and they would kill anyone they wanted. Yi Chen did not know how the blood hand of Chi Butcher ended up in his hands. Chapter 65. On the horse's back, Yi Chen shook his head and put the bloody hand skill back into the ring. This kind of skill was too dangerous, and the martial institutions were most afraid of the martial arts being leaked out. Even if it had nothing to do with them, learning it would bring bad luck, and they might even lose their martial arts. Compared to the evil blood martial school, a single person's power was too weak. Plus, no matter how powerful the bloody hand was, it was only a top-rank mortal realm skill, not enough for Yi Chen to take the risk to learn it. Putting his consciousness back into the ring, Yi Chen took out the second skill from the shelf. Looking at it in his hand, he realized that this secret manual was actually a secret skill that had not been made public. Earth Explosion, a top-rank mortal realm skill. The user needs to pour all of his Zhen Qi into the soles of his feet and send it out through a special shock wave. It explodes when it reaches the designated location. There are 3 stages to this skill. The first stage allows the Zhen Qi to tear open the ground and rush towards the opponent. The second stage allows the Zhen Qi to hide in the ground and explode at a designated location. The third stage allows the Zhen Qi to hide in the ground and explode from a long distance. Yi Chen raised his eyebrows. Judging from the realm described above, the Bloody Butcher had only trained to the first realm, where his attacks were relatively obvious. If the opponent had strong senses and was fast enough, they would still be able to dodge it. The second realm was a bit harder to defend against, where his Zhen Qi could be hidden under the ground and appear under one's feet without a sound. If the opponent was caught off guard, he might actually be able to kill a warrior of the same level. The third realm was starting to get more insane, where he could hide his Zhen Qi under the ground and control it from a distance. It was like controlling a landmine. Yi Chen felt lucky. If the Bloody Butcher had trained the Earth Explosion to the third stage, even if he could escape, he would still be shocked. And that was only because he had a strong soul power and was fast enough. If it were anyone else, they would not be able to dodge it in time, or they would not be able to dodge it. Of course, a secret skill was a secret skill, and it was much harder to train than a martial skill of the same level. The Earth Explosion skill was definitely not any easier than a low-rank Earth realm martial skill. People who were not talented might not even be able to reach the third stage even after 10 years. With the secret skill in hand, Yi Chen would not let it go. He had made up his mind to train it and make it one of his trump cards. Next was the third secret manual, which was also the last one. The Hiding Chi spell is a low-rank Earth realm auxiliary martial art. It is divided into 2 realms. In the lower realm, at the condensing reality realm, you can change the vibration of your Zhen Qi at will and hide your cultivation level by 1 level. In the upper realm, at the clasping yuan realm, you can hide your cultivation level by 1 level. Beyond the clasping yuan realm, you cannot use the Hiding Qi spell. The sound of horse hooves had already woken up a lot of people. Many houses had their lights lit up. It was noisy and chaotic. Obviously, they were looking for someone. As the doors of the houses nearby opened, a group of people rushed out. "Who are you? Why did you come to Yellowstone Village? Don't act rashly. We are not afraid of you. Yi Qin smiled bitterly. He suddenly punched a big hole in the ground. I just came to stay for the night. I will leave tomorrow. With my strength, it is too easy for me to do anything to you. You really came to stay for the night? The leader of the group was a bare-chested man with a hoe in his hand. He looked at the hole in the ground and swallowed his saliva. Yi Qin nodded. Do I look like a robber to you? You don't. The man looked at Yi Qin. He saw that he was wearing a moon-white robe made of high-quality materials. The corners of the robe could probably support him for a month. There was a sword hanging on his waist. He looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. He was handsome and refined. He did not look like a robber who would do anything. Letting out a sigh, the man said loudly, Okay, everyone go back! This guy is not a robber. Hearing this, most of the people turned around and went back to their houses. Only a few people stayed to watch the show. The man did not care about them. He said to Yi Qin, My house still has an empty room. You can come in and stay for the night. As for the fee, Yi Qin took out a piece of silver and threw it to the man. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Chen Hua, quickly tidy up the empty room for this young hero. The man beamed with joy and loudly scolded his wife in the room. Yi Qin looked around and did not see any house with a yard. He said, Where do you think I should tie my horse? Horse, there is a broken tree behind my house. You can tie it there. The man stared at the dark brown horse and pointed at the back of the house. Okay. He led the horse to the location. Just like the man said, there was a big tree that needed 2 people to wrap their arms around. However, it was broken and could not be seen from the other side of the house. After tying the rope, Yi Qin poured out a big pile of grass from his storage ring. He said to the dark brown horse, Rest well today. We still have a long journey tomorrow. Swoosh! The dark brown horse puffed out 2 puffs of air from its nose. It lowered its head to eat the grass. Yi Qin was about to leave when he saw something strange happening in the night sky. He could not help but gasp. Is it a ghost or... Chapter 66. Above the misty night sky, a cluster of black shadow flew towards Yi Qin at a seemingly slow speed. As it got closer, Yi Qin finally saw the real body of the black shadow. 5 ghost-like human figures in white robes were carrying a huge coffin. The coffin was 1 meter long and 1 meter wide. It was completely black and did not look like it was made from wood. Instead, it looked like it was carved from a whole black rock. It was heavy, creepy, but it also had a majestic aura. 5 white shadows were carrying a coffin, flying above the endless night sky. If a normal person saw it, he or she would have fainted on the ground, thinking that they were here to capture his or her soul and drag him or her into hell. However, Yi Qin was a martial artist, and once a martial artist reached the late stage of his or her cultivation, he or she would be able to turn the ocean upside down, go up into the sky and into the ground, reverse life and death, and control the natural law. Plus, these 5 white shadows were not ghosts. They should be martial artists who had trained some kind of special martial arts, as they were moving very fast, as if they did not have a physical body. Clasping Yuan realm martial artists. They are definitely clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Judging from that creepy and mysterious chi, they are even more powerful than the headmaster of the Sky Cloud Martial School, only slightly weaker than the leader, Luo Xinglia. Yi Qin's soul power was extremely powerful. Once he glanced at anyone, he would be able to compare them with people he had seen before and come to a conclusion very quickly. Therefore, even though he could not see through the cultivation of these white shadows, he was still able to analyze their power through comparison. A chill ran down his spine. Yi Qin could not help but wonder what was in that coffin. Was it a person, or was it just a dead body? The latter was impossible, as it would be too much to ask 5 late clasping Yuan realm martial artists to carry a dead body. There was only one explanation left, which was that there was someone in the coffin, a powerful martial artist whose cultivation was not below the astral reaching realm. Otherwise, there was no way that a late clasping Yuan realm martial artist could carry a coffin. an astral-reaching, realm martial artist. Yi Chen licked his dry lips, not daring to move. It had been a long time since an astral-reaching, realm martial artist had come out to the Windy Nation. The leaders of the top 5 martial institutions, such as the leader of the Emerald Martial School, the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, the leader of the Purple Sun Martial School, the leader of the Rudra Martial School, and the leader of the Sky Cloud Martial School. These 5 people were all at the peak of late clasping Yuan realm, and were extremely powerful. However, the premise was that an astral-reaching realm martial artist did not come out, otherwise, even they would have to stand aside. The sky was filled with dark clouds. 5 white figures carried the coffin and floated in front of the dark clouds. Their white robes were blown by the air currents, dragging very long. They were like the white impermanents who wanted to take someone's life, but also like a lonely and ferocious spirit. After a few flickers, the scene of the 5 ghosts carrying the coffin disappeared without a trace, leaving only the dark clouds that were still spreading. Yi Chen wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead, feeling a lingering fear. "Young hero, what are you doing outside? An empty room has already been prepared for you," the man said through the window in the room. "All right." After settling the dark brown horse down, Yi Chen turned around and left. The empty room wasn't big. There was a bed, a table, and a chair inside. There was also an oil lamp hanging on the wall. The oil lamp emitted an orange glow, barely illuminating the entire room. "Rest well. Let me know if you need anything. I'll get it done for you immediately." The man standing at the door could not hide his joy. 5 taels of silver. The living conditions of Huangshe village were not high, but it was enough for his family to live for 2 to 3 months. They would rise from the ranks of being able to fill their stomachs to being rich. Yi Chen thought about it and said, "It might rain after midnight. Find some villagers to build a shed so that my horse won't get wet. Here are 10 taels of silver. Give it to the villagers who are willing to work." After saying that, Yi Chen gave him another 2 pieces of silver. "Good, good. I'll find someone to do it right away. Only an idiot wouldn't do it." The man's eyes lit up as he respectfully took the silver from Yi Chen's hands. After the man left, Yi Chen waved his hand and the door closed automatically. Sitting on the bed with his legs crossed, he took out 2 low-rank soul stones from his storage ring. Yi Chen started his daily Zhan Qi training. In the past, although Yi Chen was very diligent in his training and could even be said to be very hardworking, he had not reached the point of forgetting himself. The so-called forgetting himself meant that there was nothing else besides training, and everything else would be centered around training. Anything that hindered his training, he would have to overcome or give up. Before, Yi Chen didn't think much of it. He thought that his training speed was fast enough. With his powerful body, he could absorb 2 portions of Yuan Qi from the soul stones at the same time. However, after seeing the 5 ghosts carrying the coffin tonight, he felt uneasy. His instinct told him that something big was going to happen. This big event might affect the entire Windy Nation, or even beyond that. As for whether he was overthinking it or not, he didn't know. But it was better to take precautions than to do nothing. The former could help him live longer. Yi Chen's Zhan Qi started to circulate inside his body, 1 round after another. Late at night, there was a cracking sound. A few cracks appeared on the 2 low-rank soul stones in Yi Chen's palms. Slowly opening his eyes, Yi Chen let out a long breath. His breath was like a fog or an arrow shooting out very far away. It even blew the wall on the other side of the wall, causing stone chips to fall down. A normal early condensing reality, Realm Warrior consumes 1 low-rank soul stone in 5 days, but I consume 2 in 4 days. My speed is 2.5 times faster than others. But in terms of progress, I guess it's only 2 times faster. The quality of the pure Junjin Qi is a bit higher, so I need more Yuan Qi from the soul stones. Throwing away the cracked, low-rank soul stones, Yi Chen felt even more grateful to the owner of the mid-rank storage ring. If it weren't for those 10,000 low-rank soul stones, he wouldn't have been able to absorb the yuan qi from the soul stones so easily. 2 low-rank soul stones in 4 days, 20 in 40 days, and 200 in 400 days. And that didn't include his breakthrough to the mid and late condensing reality realm. At that time, he would consume even more low-rank soul stones, which ordinary people wouldn't be able to afford. Of course, the Yi family could afford it, but it would be troublesome to explain. First of all, Yi Qin had to explain why he was consuming 2 times faster than others, and he didn't want to reveal any information about the pure jade body boosting spell yet. It was late at night, the crescent moon was covered by dark clouds, and the sky was dark. Without taking off his clothes, Yi Chan went straight to sleep, but he still had a little bit of consciousness. After midnight, just as Yi Chan expected, it started to rain heavily. The sound of the rain covered everything, washing away all the dirt on the ground. The rain didn't stop until the next morning. Unable to reject the man and his wife's enthusiasm, Yi Qin gave up the idea of leaving immediately and sat down to have breakfast with them. They had a little daughter who was only 3 or 4 years old. She was wearing simple clothes, and her eyes were big and watery. She was eating with a small bowl of food, and her voice was very cute, which was also one of the reasons why Yi Chen was willing to stay for breakfast. After breakfast, Yi Chen thought the little girl was cute, so he gave her a piece of jade. This piece of jade was not worth much. He bought it especially for the pure jade body boosting spell. There were hundreds of pieces in total, and there were still a few left, each worth less than 30 silvers. Normally he didn't care about it, but now it was a good gift. As the little girl thanked him in her childish voice, Yi Chen chuckled and walked out of the house. At the entrance of the village, Yi Chen jumped on the horse and rode away. Chapter 67. The sun was setting. The bright afterglow shone on the windy mountain, dyeing it a pink color. Coming out from the horse farm at the foot of the mountain, Yi Chen tidied up his clothes and walked up the mountain with some inner disciples who had just finished their missions. On the way, everyone was talking about him. "Brother Miao, I heard that you took on a 4-star white rank mission. You really impressed me." "Brother Fong, you are flattering me. I only took on the most common 4-star white rank mission. I did not dare to take on anything too difficult. Compared to that Zhang Haoren, I am still far from it. Zhang Haoren, he is a madman. The first time he took on a 3-star white rank mission. The second time he took on a 4-star white rank mission. And the third time he took on a 5-star white rank mission. I wonder if he can make it back alive? It will be difficult. Although he is a genius, and he can fight those who are at a higher cultivation level than him, but he cannot beat those who are at the same cultivation level as him. Even those mid-condensing reality realm geniuses would have to be very careful when taking on a 5-star white rank mission. If they are not careful enough, they could still die. Last year, Brother Yuan died on a 5-star white rank mission. Yeah, Zhang Haoren is indeed doomed. But if he can survive, his future will be limitless. That kind of life and death situation, that kind of opportunity to fight against the heavens, can only be found by chance. If he can survive it, the warriors will improve at an incredible speed. On the side, Yi Chen seemed to be thinking about something. He did not expect that Zhang Haoren, who had just become an inner disciple, would put his life on the line. It was like he was joking with his own life. This kind of person was definitely scary because they were not afraid of death. They pursued the most primitive power. They did not care about life and death. Similarly, Zhang Haoren and Yi Chen could be said to be very similar in some aspects. Both of them worked hard but were not blind. The first time he took on a 3-star white rank mission, he wanted to accumulate experience and familiarize himself with the process of the mission. The second time he took on a 4-star white rank mission, he wanted to level up step by step and feel his limits. When he reached his limits, he would challenge a 5-star white rank mission, breaking through his limits and achieving the greatest transformation. Imperceptibly, Yi Chen had already placed Zhang Haoren on the same level as the 4 great young masters. This level wasn't based on strength, but talent, and willpower. Zhang Haoren's willpower was undoubtedly appreciated and recognized by Yi Qin. As for Yi Qin himself, time would prove. Arriving at the soaring cloud hall, Yi Chen headed straight for the side hall. "Deacon, I'm here to hand my mission." There were many attendants in the floating cloud palace. These attendants were not very strong, and their main job was to help the flowing cloud sect with missions. The middle-aged deacon sitting at the table nodded. "Where's the mission form and proof?" "Here they are." Yi Chen put the mission form and the head of the bloody butcher on the table. The middle-aged deacon glanced at the mission form, then immediately opened the black cloth that was wrapped around the head. After a while he said, "Not bad, it is indeed the bloody butcher. Congratulations on completing the mission. What's your name?" "Yi Chen." "Wait, let me see." After becoming an inner disciple, all personal information would be sent to the floating cloud palace for the deacon to look for. Soon, the middle-aged deacon found Yi Chen's information. He then took out a black leather book from the drawer and started to record Yi Chen's information and mission results. Name, Yi Chen, age, 15, identity, Yi family's disciple, inner disciple assessment, excellent mission result, 3-star white rank mission. Once take a look and see if there's anything wrong with it. The middle-aged deacon pushed the black leather book towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen only glanced at it and nodded, "Yes." "Okay, now let's talk about the reward. Maybe you have just become an inner disciple, so you don't know much about this. According to the rules of the Sky Cloud Martial School, the school will take 30% of the reward for white rank missions, 25% for gray rank missions, and 20% for black rank missions. The reward for killing the bloody butcher is 4,000 gold. So after taking 30%, there will be 2,800 gold left." The middle-aged deacon put the black leather book back into the drawer and explained. Taking 30% of the reward was very high, but it was understandable. After all, the school had trained you for so long, so you should be contributing to the school. Plus, when you killed the target of a mission, you would usually get extra income, and sometimes the extra income was even more than the reward itself. After receiving the 2,800 gold notes from the middle-aged deacon, Yi Chen left the side palace. On the first day, Yi Chen did not accept any mission. The second day was the same. On the third day, the floating cloud palace became very lively. Zhang Haoren, who was thought to be dead, came back alive. He was covered in blood, and his murderous aura could be felt from far away. It attracted a lot of inner disciples to come and watch. Wu Zongming, who had already returned, had a complicated expression on his face. If this continued, he would never be able to catch up with Zhang Haoren. Zhang Haoren's determination had shocked even him. Wiping the blood off his face, Zhang Haoren looked around and found Yi Chen. He grinned and said, "Yi Chen, I will be waiting for you in the ranking competition." "Who is Yi Chen?" Why did Zhang Haoren say he would be waiting for Yi Chen? Is he that powerful? It seems like Yi Chen had just become an inner disciple. How come he made Zhang Haoren pay so much attention to him? Hearing this, a lot of inner disciples were confused. Most of them did not see the battle between Zhang Haoren and Yi Chen. Plus, they were all very busy, so they had not heard about it. However, after this battle, they just needed to ask around, and they would be able to figure it out. Yi Chen said seriously, "Of course." Time flew, and another half a month had passed. During this period of time, Yi Chen had only accepted one 4-star white rank mission, and spent the rest of his time on training. As for why he did not accept 5-star white rank missions, it was because these kinds of missions were not always available. They were either too easy, which was below 4-star white rank, or too difficult, which was a gray rank mission, which was too time-consuming. More importantly, he could feel that his pure Jun Jin Qi was about to break through to the 7th stage. This kind of opportunity was hard to come by, and the earlier he made it, the faster he trained, the later it would be a waste of time. On this day, A big event that shocked the entire Windy Nation had reached the Sky Cloud Martial School. After many interactions, Yichen also learned about the details of the event. The Evil Earth Martial School, which was located in the northwest of the Windy Nation, had been wiped out overnight. None of the 78 clasping Yuan realm martial artists survived, and over 1,000 of their disciples had died. Only a few of them managed to escape. When he heard the news, the first thing that came to Yi Chen's mind was the 5 ghosts' coffin carrying incident. The Evil Earth Martial School and the Sky Cloud Martial School were both Rank 9 institutions, but the latter was the most powerful among the Rank 9 institutions. It was not even weaker than the Rank 8 institutions. Because it was not easy to increase one's rank, it would take a long time to be verified, and that was why the Sky Cloud Martial School was still a Rank 9 institution. Otherwise, the Sky Cloud Martial School would not be listed among the 3 great sects. After all, there were already 4 Rank 9 institutions in the Windy Nation. If the Sky Cloud Martial School was not powerful enough, the Sky Cloud Martial School would not even have a chance. In everyone's eyes, the Sky Cloud Martial School was no different than a Rank 8 institution. Even so, the annihilation of the 9th grade sect, the Earth Fiend sect, still left everyone dumbfounded and terrified. Chapter 68. The Evil Earth Martial School had 24 inner masters, all of whom were above the mid-clasping Yuan realm. The leader of the school, Jiang Tiansha, had even reached the peak-level late clasping Yuan realm. His weapon was a rare legendary weapon, the Sun Moon Wheel. With the combination of the 2 weapons, even the leaders of the top 5 martial schools would not dare to underestimate him. It would take hundreds of attacks to decide the winner, and it would be a problem if they could escape unscathed. Such a powerful martial school had been slaughtered in one night. Yi Chen was even more certain that the person in the coffin was an astral-reaching realm warrior, and not just a normal early astral-reaching realm warrior, because an early astral-reaching realm warrior was not powerful enough to slaughter a Rank 9 martial school, even with the help of 5 late clasping Yuan realm warriors. Shaking his head, Yi Chen knew that he did not have the right to worry about these things. Right now, the only thing he could do was to increase his cultivation as fast as possible in order to protect himself in the future. The news of the Evil Earth Martial School being destroyed had not only reached the Sky Cloud Martial School, but also the other martial schools. All of a sudden, the whole Windy Nation was in a state of panic. The condensing Evil Mountain, where the Evil Earth Martial School was located, the whole mountain was covered with corpses. There were outer disciples, inner disciples, core disciples, deacons, outer masters, inner masters, family members of the elders, and the family members of the leaders. All of them were lying on the ground with their eyes wide open. Their bodies looked like dried corpses, which was extremely horrifying. In the middle of the welcoming plaza, a huge human figure stood there, not moving at all. Looking closer, one would realize that he was already dead. There was a bowl-sized, bloody hole on his muscular chest. His heart had been taken out, and the blood had dried up long ago. The sticky substance inside his body had a deathly gray color. If someone with a bit of knowledge was here, they would definitely recognize that the corpse standing there was indeed Jiang Tiansha, the leader of the Evil Earth Martial School. A peak-level late clasping Yuan realm warrior had his heart taken out by someone else. After an unknown period of time, a red had appeared in the east sky. The red light was getting brighter and brighter, dyeing the surrounding air into a different color. Looking over, one could see a human figure wrapped in the red light, flying towards them at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Shoo! The red light landed on the welcoming plaza, circled around the human figure for a couple of times, and then suddenly disappeared, annihilating the entire clan in one night. Who did it? The silhouette stood with his hands behind his back. Looking closely, he seemed to be in his 40s. His joints were huge, and he looked like a tiger or a dragon. It was the leader of the Sky Cloud Martial School, Luo Xinglia. Among the top 5 martial institutions, the Sky Cloud Martial School and the North Snow Martial Academy were the closest to the Evil Earth Martial School. After knowing the news, Luo Xinglia came out of his closed-door training immediately. He had traveled tens of thousands of miles to find some clues so that he could be prepared for the future. He reached out and grabbed at Jiang Tiansha's chest. Traces of deathly aura were sucked over. Qi, the deathly gray qi, was extremely poisonous, as it kept corroding Luo Xinglia's jinqi. Luo Xinglia sneered, as a red light appeared on his palm, burning the deathly gray qi into nothingness. Just when he was about to investigate further, Luo Xinglia suddenly raised his head and looked towards the northeast. The white clouds in the sky were cut in half. A figure shot over fiercely. Everything in his way was sliced apart by the invisible saber qi, including the formless air. Patter! A man landed 10 meters to the right of Luo Xinglia. The man was wearing a snow-white robe, and he had no facial hair. He was also standing with his hands behind his back. His saber qi was flying all over the place, shooting up into the sky with an unbelievable power. Xue Warren, your saber intent is even more powerful than 3 years ago. Luo Xinglia looked at him seriously and said slowly. The middle-aged man in white smiled lightly. The saber intent is shapeless, and it might become dull one day. Plus, your great Luo godly art is already at the 11th level. Luo Xinglia did not say anything. The man in front of him was the leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, Xue Warren. He had trained his qi when he was 9, reached the condensing reality realm when he was 16, and reached the clasping yuan realm when he was 28. Judging from the data, he was not talented at all, and could not even be compared to normal geniuses. However, that was the reason why Luo Xinglia was shocked. When he reached the mid-clasping yuan realm, he had learned the 1 in a million saber intent. Once the saber intent was released, even the gods and ghosts would not be able to see through him. 3 years ago, Luo Xinglia did not have the confidence to beat him. 3 years later, Xue Warren had become even more powerful. Luo Xinglia had to admit that if the two of them were to fight, his chance of winning would not be higher than 45%. Of course, he had his ace attacks, but it was hard to guarantee that Xue Warren did not. Xue Warren looked at Jiang Tiansha's dead body and asked, "Did you find anything?" Luo Xinglia let out a long breath. "I found something." There was an extremely evil qi inside Jiang Tiansha's body, and it had not dissipated even after half a month. Oh, Xue Warren's eyebrows twitched. The training method of the Evil Earth Martial School was different from the other martial institutions. They mixed their Zhen Qi with evil qi, which was extremely aggressive. Normally, evil qi would not work on them. What was even more unbelievable was that Jiang Tiansha was the #1 expert in evil qi in the entire Windy Nation, who could kill him with evil qi and leave it in his body for half a month. Also, look at Jiang Tiansha's expression. He was shocked, but also impressed. Obviously, he had encountered something that even he could not help but admire. Therefore, I think an old monster has come out of hiding. As a peak-level late clasping yuan realm warrior, Luo Xinglia was very observant. He was able to figure out the truth from the most basic information, which was very different from his bulky and aggressive appearance. Hearing him, Xue Warren's expression changed slightly. "An old monster has come out of hiding, are you sure?" 70 to 80% sure. Otherwise, who could kill the entire Evil Earth Martial School in one night and surpass Jiang Tiansha in terms of evil qi? Xue Warren nodded slightly and sighed. If this is the case, the Windy Nation is going to change. Luo Xinglia sneered. He raised his head and said, "Tu Chongshan is here. Long Bai is here as well. And, that Zhuang Qingxian did not come, but sent a master to fool us. It seems like he does not care about us at all." Xue Warren's perception was not any weaker than Luo Xinglia's. He raised his head and squinted his eyes. In the southeast direction, a golden halo pierced through the clouds and melted the air. It was like a huge fireball was shooting towards them. Thunders could be heard one after another. It was horrifying. In the south direction, the rain was pouring down. In the rain, a beautiful woman was walking on the water with an umbrella in her hand. She was moving at a very fast speed, but it looked like she was taking a stroll in the park. In the west, there was an elderly man walking on a beam of light. He looked very arrogant, but his speed was slightly slower than the other two. Shoo! The first one to arrive was the beautiful woman with an umbrella. Her hair was like a waterfall. Her body was alluring. She was wearing a blue dress that looked like flowing water without a single speck of dust on it. You two are early. The beautiful woman put away her umbrella and said with a smile. Luo Xinglia said, "The South Rudra Martial School's godly water spell is indeed worthy of its name. I, Luo Xinglia, have really opened my eyes." The beautiful woman was none other than the leader of the South Rudra Martial School, one of the top 3 martial institutions Longbai. She was the youngest among the 5 leaders, around 30 years old. However, her background was quite mysterious. No one knew where she was born, and no one knew where she learned all of her martial arts from. Chapter 69. Long Bai said jokingly, no matter how powerful the godly water spell is, how could it compete with Tu Chongshan's sunlight great art? Of course, there is also brother Luo's great Rudra god art. The sunlight great art and the great Rudra god art both contained fire power. The former was like a burning sun, burning everything in its path. It also had an explosive power, while the latter did not have yin and yang. It could be hard and soft at the same time. Shui Warren shook his head. You are the most mysterious one among us. Who would dare to say that they could win against you? Not to mention the others. I could not handle Brother Shui's blade intent alone. Long Bai did not know if it was just her nature, or if she was just being humble. She kept putting herself down and elevating the others. However, Luo Xinglia and Shui Warren would not dare to underestimate her because of this. Otherwise, they would die a horrible death. A few years ago, a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm warrior from the Rudra nation saw Long Bai's beauty. He could not help but want to marry her. After being rejected by Long Bai, he did not know what to do and suggested a martial arts competition. If she lost, she would become his woman. If she won, he would leave immediately. 10 attacks, with only 10 attacks, that Rudra nation warrior had lost completely. He had lost all hope. And that was even because Long Bai did not use all of her power. From then on, no one dared to underestimate Long Bai, this mysterious woman. Ha 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 ha, I, Tu Chongshan, am here. The golden halo broke through the air and attacked towards Luo Xinglia without slowing down. All of a sudden, the intense heat filled the whole plaza, as if a huge star had fallen from the sky. Bastard, how dare you? Luo Xinglia's eyebrows twitched. His eyes were filled with anger. He reached out both of his arms, one above the other, as if he was hugging a huge ball. Boom! The whole mountain seemed to be shaking. The shockwave from the battle between the two had shaved off a layer of the plaza surface, sinking 4 to 5 meters deep. Everything within 100 meters radius had been turned into ruins. Nothing was left, including Jiang Tiansha's body. Long Bai seemed to have expected it. She had put up her blue protective layer in advance, separating the incoming shockwave. Shui Warren was a bit annoyed. He took a step forward and a huge blade chi shot out from his body, landing right in between the two. Clang! The saber chi severed the connection between the two of them. The remaining force did not dissipate and sliced off half of the malevolent Earth Sect's guest hall. The cut was as smooth as a mirror. The top half slowly slid down, giving off another loud rumbling sound. Whoosh! Whoosh! Luo Xinglia and Tu Chongshan both jumped back. As soon as his feet landed on the ground, Luo Xinglia said with a low voice, Tu Chongshan, are you crazy? If you really want to fight, then set a date. After not seeing you for so many years, your great Luo Xingong has become even more profound. Unfortunately, I only used the power of 9 suns just now. If I used the power of 10 suns, you would have lost for sure. Tu Chongshan patted his sleeves, without the slightest intention of apologizing. Luo Xinglia tried his best to control his emotions and sneered, "Even if you have 10 suns, so what? Do you think my Deluo Jinqi is just for show?" The two of them were fighting each other, neither of them willing to give in. As for when it started, they did not care anymore. It seemed like the great Luo Xingong and the Sunlight Great Art were born to be enemies, and their cultivators had inherited this trait as well. Putting aside their disgust, the two of them were both shocked by Shui Wuren's power. Although that blade chi attack was very skillful, and it landed right at the point where their chi powers were clashing, his eyesight and timing were still very impressive. Besides that, both of them knew that Shui Wuren was at his best when he was holding the blade. Right now, he was not even serious. "Why are you two doing this? Today is not the day to fight." Long Bai walked over and tried to mediate. Tu Chongshan chuckled. "I am giving you face, but I wonder if Brother Luo would be willing to do it." "Huh, after the Evil Earth Martial School is done, I would like to see how powerful you are. Do you dare?" Luo Xinglia was not a man with a good temper, but today was indeed not a good day. "Why not?" Tu Chongshan squinted his eyes. Shui Wuren, who had just attacked, did not say anything. In fact, he wanted to see the battle between the two of them. People at their level would not easily fight. Soon, the elder, who was stepping on a beam of light, also arrived on the plaza. "Everyone, Gao Tianhe is late." Facing the leaders of the 4 martial institutions, the elder did not seem to be nervous at all. Instead, he seemed to be looking down on them. Shui Wuren frowned. "Where is Zhuang Qingxian?" The elder cleared his throat. "Our leader is in closed-door training right now and has no time for anything else. As for what happened today, you guys do not need to waste your time investigating. We, the Emerald Martial Palace, have already received some insider information." Hearing him, Shui Wuren and the other three's expressions changed. They all stared at Gao Tianhe, being stared at by 4 powerful warriors. Even though Gao Tianhe was at the peak of late clasping Yuan realm, he still could not stand it. However, compared to what he was going to say next, it was not even worth mentioning. He took a deep breath, as if he had used all of his strength, and said, "Half a month ago, our Emerald Martial Palace's disciples were on a mission. They had seen 5 ghosts carrying a coffin in the night sky. Half a month later, the news of the Evil Earth Martial School being destroyed spread out overnight. The 2 incidents had caught our attention. After careful investigation and analysis, we came to a conclusion. The 9 Ghost Cult, which had been destroyed 20 years ago, had once again revived. This time, it should be the Ghost Artist, one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 Ghost Cult. Only he likes to live in the stone coffin." Hearing him, the 4 of them were all shocked. Long Bai hurriedly said, "Are you serious?" Gao Tianhe nodded slowly. "The 9 Ghost Cult is a very serious matter. How could I joke about it? But it is not that serious right now. The 9 Ghost Cult has been destroyed for all to see, and the remaining forces would not be that powerful. If I am not wrong, they are currently trying to accumulate their power, so they would not dare to challenge the top martial institutions in the South Rudra region. But the other small martial institutions might not be the same. Therefore, for the next 3 to 5 years, we can rest easy. After that, the whole South Rudra region will be facing a serious challenge. 3 to 5 years, who could say for sure? Once they had destroyed some of the small martial institutions and accumulated enough wealth, the big martial institutions would be the ones to suffer. Everyone knew about the horrifying power of the 9 Ghost Cult back in the day. It was as powerful as all the martial institutions in the whole South Rudra region combined. If it were not for the help from outside forces, the whole South Rudra region, which contained dozens of countries, might have already fallen into the 9 Ghost Cult's control. Compared to the 9 Ghost Cult, the Windy Nation was only a small ant, and the top 5 martial institutions were not even ants. As for that ghost corpse man, he was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the Nine Ghost cult. His power was not that powerful in the Nine Ghost cult, but in the Windy Nation he was invincible. Since he had not done anything yet, it should be because he had been badly wounded back then and had not recovered yet. Otherwise, it would not be just the evil Earth Martial School that would be slaughtered, but one of the top 5 martial institutions. Woo! Woo! The cold wind was blowing, and everyone's heart sank. Chapter 70. Night. Yi Chen, who was sitting on the bed, suddenly opened his eyes. He waved his hand, and a chi sword made of chi appeared and shot out. Swoosh! The wall was like a piece of tofu. It was easily pierced through, leaving a small hole on the wall. My pure Junjun chi has finally reached the 7th stage. The peak of the 6th stage and the 7th stage were only one small step apart, but the difference in power was like heaven and earth. If the chi light was a normal sword, then the chi sword would be a real great sword. Not only could it cut through iron like it was mud, but it could also kill a mortal realm warrior from 100 steps away as easily as eating or drinking. Getting off the bed, Yi Chen jumped through the door and came out of the yard. Looking around, there was also a hole on the 1-foot-thick wall. Yi Chen did not know where the chi sword had landed, but he hoped that it did not hurt anyone. The next morning, in the floating cloud palace, there are no more 5-star white rank missions. In front of the white jade wall on the right side of the door, Yi Chen frowned. He was planning to take on a 5-star white rank mission to practice and earn some money. But now it seemed that this 5-star white rank mission was very popular and rare. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen walked into the palace and stopped in front of the gray jade wall. Does this brat want to die? Even the top 200 inner disciples have to be careful about gray rank missions. He is only at the early condensing reality realm, and he dares to take a mission. Maybe he is just here to have a look. I don't think he has the guts to take it. A few inner disciples nearby noticed Yi Chen. Their eyes lit up, and they started to whisper to each other. Yi Chen did not care about other people's opinions. With his power, taking a gray rank mission was not too much. According to the difficulty of the mission, if the condensing reality realm warriors could be divided into 15 stars, then he should be at least 5 stars. On the gray jade wall, there were quite a lot of missions. After a while, Yi Chen found a mission that he was satisfied with. The 4th line was the 3rd mission. Mission: protect the herb collecting team from the Ling family in the Red Blood Forest. Without much hesitation, Yi Chen tore off the mission sheet. What? He really accepted it. That's a 2-star gray rank mission. This mission only needs 5 people. Even if he goes, he will only be humiliating himself. I hope that during the selection, he will not bring shame to our Sky Cloud Martial School. The Purple Sun Martial School and our Sky Cloud Martial School have always been at loggerheads. Whenever they have the chance, they would humiliate us to death. Plus, the Emerald Martial Palace has always been arrogant, so our chances are even lower. Under everyone's speechless gaze, Yi Chen walked out of the soaring cloud hall. At the bottom of the mountain, Yi Chen jumped onto his horse and galloped out. The Ling family was a small family in the Black Rock City. Their main business was herb collecting and medicine making. There were not many powerful warriors in the family. Only 2 early clasping Yuan realm warriors and dozens of condensing reality realm warriors. Compared to the top 8 families, the Ling family was extremely weak. Because of this, the Ling family decided to hire disciples from the martial schools to protect the herb collecting team. After all, there were a lot of geniuses in the martial schools, and it was normal for them to be able to fight those with higher cultivation than them. A mid-condensing reality realm warrior was even more powerful than a late condensing reality realm warrior from the Ling family, and his martial skills were much more powerful. However, a small family was still a small family after all. They did not have a lot of resources, so they could not afford to hire disciples from the martial schools. In the end, they decided to select the 5 temporary guards. In the afternoon, Yi Chen rushed to the Black Rock City and headed to the Ling family in the Northern District. At this moment, the Ling family was quite lively. Dozens of handsome young people had gathered in the training field. Among them, there were inner disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace in green, inner disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy in white, inner disciples from the Purple Sun Martial School in purple, inner disciples from the Rudra Martial School in blue, and inner disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School in white. Besides them, there were also quite a lot of inner disciples from other martial schools, more than 10 of them in total. There were more than 20 people gathered here, which made everyone in the Ling family feel quite emotional. If these people were all disciples of the Ling family could become a mid-level family within 10 years, and maybe even a big family. Unfortunately, it was just a dream. It would never come true. Everyone, our Ling family's herb collecting team will enter the Red Blood Forest tomorrow morning. Therefore, before this evening, we will select the 5 temporary guards. For those who are not selected, I will not mistreat them. You will get good food and a good place to stay here. I am sure you will be satisfied. The one who spoke was the leader of the Ling family, Ling Tianan, who was in his 40s and was at the early clasping Yuan realm. Hearing him, one of the inner disciples from the Rudra Martial School asked, "Leader Ling, what are the rules?" "Let's hear it." Ling Tianan smiled and said, "It is not practical for us to fight one by one, therefore, I have adopted a mixed battle rule. Look at the training field. There is a white circle over there. Later on, all of you will enter it and start the mixed battle. Those who leave the circle will be disqualified, and the remaining 5 people will be the temporary guards of this herb collecting team." Clearing his throat, Ling Tianan continued, "For the sake of fairness, during the mixed battle, no one is allowed to bully the other. It has to be one-on-one. When the others are fighting, you can only look for the other person. You are not allowed to step in. I hope everyone will remember this." Everyone looked over and saw that there was indeed a huge circle drawn with white paint on the training field. It was about 5 zhang wide and could barely accommodate more than 20 people fighting inside. However, when the fight started, the wind generated from the palm strikes and fists would inevitably affect others. It could be said that it was extremely difficult. All right, a challenge, I like it. The inner disciple from the Emerald Martial Palace, who was wearing a green robe, nodded and looked down at the crowd with an arrogant face. The inner disciple from the Purple Sun Martial School did not want to be left behind. Our Purple Sun Martial School's martial arts are all about fighting. We love this kind of mixed battle the most, haha. The disciples of the North Snow Martial Academy are not afraid of anyone. The same goes for the Rudra Martial School. When it came to the inner disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School, everyone sneered with disdain. These few disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School were not even worth mentioning. The most powerful one among them was only at the mid-condensing reality realm, and they were not famous at all. It seemed like they were only here to join in the fun and raise the status of the others. Besides the top 5 martial institutions, the disciples from the other martial institutions did not have much confidence, but thinking that they might be able to take the position of the Sky Cloud Martial School, they all felt a bit more confident. 5 temporary guards, count me in. Right at this moment, a clear voice came from outside the training field. Ling Tianan looked over and could not help but feel a bit disappointed. What the hell is the Sky Cloud Martial School doing? They only sent some ordinary people here, and this guy is even more arrogant. He is only at the early condensing reality realm. Chapter 71. It was indeed Yi Chen. He was not very familiar with the Black Rock City, and he did not remember any shortcuts. Therefore, he was a step behind the other inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Luckily, he had asked for directions on the way, so he was able to arrive at the Black Rock City in 3 days. Seeing that the selection had not started yet, Yi Chen cupped his hands and said, "I am Yi Chen, a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Nice to meet you, leader of the Ling family." Ling Tianan forced a smile and said, If you were a step late, the selection would have started. Just then, a disciple from the Purple Sun Martial School said sarcastically, "Actually, it doesn't matter if you come or not. But you can stay at the Ling family's house for free for one night." Hee, in my mind, the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School always like to take advantage of others. Indeed, seeing you in person is not as good as hearing about you. Another disciple from the Emerald Martial Palace interrupted. The disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School were not happy. "What do you mean we like to take advantage of others? Are you sure you will win?" At the same time, they started to hate Yi Qin. "If you want to come, then come. Why are you talking so arrogantly?" The disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy and the South Rudra Martial School chose to watch from the sidelines. However, deep down they felt sorry for the disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School and Yi Qin. As for the other disciples, they all had a gloating look on their faces. Yi Qin sneered and said, "Who likes to take advantage of others? You will find out later. Right now, your words are just bullshit. You are looking for death." Hearing this, a disciple from the Purple Sun Martial Palace could not hold it in anymore. A tall teenager walked out from the crowd. He was 1 meter and 90 centimeters tall, with a thick neck and a pair of arms that were thicker than ordinary people's thighs. Obviously, he was an extremely powerful warrior. A burning hot chi rose from his body, making him look like a man on fire. He walked towards Yi Qin step by step. At the same time, a teenager from the Emerald Martial Palace also walked out. He looked ordinary, but his aura was no weaker than the tall teenager's. Within a flash, he had already reached 3 steps in front of Yi Qin. His glaze-colored Zhen-Qi was bursting out, containing an immeasurable explosive power. One on the left and one on the right, the two of them stared at Yi Qin like tigers watching their prey, wanting to embarrass him in front of everyone. This Yi Qin has angered Wang Kunyang from the Purple Sun Martial School and Xiao Lai from the Emerald Martial Palace. I'm afraid he won't have a good ending. Wang Kunyang is at the peak of the mid-condensing reality realm. He is only 1 step away from the late condensing reality realm. Added with his 10,000 pounds of strength, normal late condensing reality realm warriors are no match for him. And that Xiao Lai is even scarier. His speed is unparalleled. Whenever he attacks, he will either tear the body apart or break the limbs. His nickname is the Body-Tearing Killer. I don't think they'll fight. No matter what, Ling Tianan is still the head of the Ling family. How could he just watch this happen? Now that you mention it, you're right. Sigh, what a pity. While everyone was talking, Wang Kunyang and Xiao Lai's aura was getting stronger. They slightly raised their heads and looked at Yi Qin with disdain. Humph! Just when Yi Qin was about to lose his temper and teach them a lesson, Ling Tianan stood up. Wait, the selection is about to start. Please give me some face and don't start a fight right now. Ling Tianan was having a headache. All of the martial disciples were extremely arrogant, and it was hard to control them. What made him speechless was that this Yi Qin from the Sky Cloud Martial School was just too arrogant. He could have messed with anyone, but he chose to mess with the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial School. Everyone knew that the disciples from these 2 martial institutions would not let anything happen to them. Once the selection was over, Ling Tianan was going to suffer a lot, but it had nothing to do with him. The competition between the martial disciples had always been intense, and it was not something that he could interfere with. Humph! I will give you some face for the head of the Ling family. Once the selection is over, I will make you kneel on the ground and lick my boots. Wang Kunyang spat on the ground and stared at Yi Qin. He then retracted his aura and went back to the group of Purple Sun Martial School disciples. Xiao Lai said in a creepy tone, I have to say you are very lucky. If it were not for the head of the Ling family, one of your arms would have been broken. Shoo! Xiao Lai's silhouette quickly faded away. He had somehow gone back to the group of Emerald Martial Palace disciples, leaving only a blur behind. On the other side, the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School were discussing with each other in a low voice. What should we do? This Yi Qin is our disciple after all. If he gets bullied by others, we will all lose face. What can we do? It is his fault for not restraining himself. Unless our senior brothers and sisters are here, we will all be in trouble. Damn it! Why can't I be more powerful? Stop dreaming. Let's try our best to get a spot first. Yi Qin, who was about to attack, was expressionless. To be honest, he was irritated by the attitude of the two. It was the first time that he had felt how intense the competition between the martial disciples was. However, he was not like the other disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Anyone who messed with him would be beaten down by him. Dad, has the selection started? Under the intense atmosphere, a soft voice came. It was like an aureole, like a wind chime, extremely pleasant to listen to. Ling Tian turned his head in surprise and said helplessly, Xiaoxue, didn't I tell you to stay inside? I also want to see how good the martial disciples are. Since I am the leader of the herb collecting team tomorrow, why can't I? Outside of the training field, a 16-year-old girl slowly walked over. She was very pretty, and she was wearing a pink dress. Her slim body was like a willow in the wind. Smiling bitterly, Ling Tiannan introduced her to the crowd. This is my daughter, Lin Xiaoxue. She is also the leader of the herb collecting team tomorrow. Miss Lin, don't worry. With me, Wang Kunyang, protecting you, you will be safe. Wang Kunyang patted his chest and said loudly. Lin Xiaoxue raised her pretty eyebrows, smiled, and said, Thank you very much. Now, let's confirm the 5 temporary guards. Ling Tiannan nodded. The selection starts now. Everyone, please enter the white circle. Hearing him, the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial Palace were the first ones to enter the white circle. They stared at the others with evil intentions, as if they already had the victory in their hands. The disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy were all wearing white robes. Their aura was no weaker than the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial Palace. They were the only ones that the disciples from the 2 martial institutions were afraid of. The disciples from the South Rudra Martial School had always been low-key, but no one dared to look down on them. Their relationship with the other martial institutions was neither good nor bad. When it was the Sky Cloud Martial School's turn, Wang Kunying sneered and said, What are you doing in here? You will still get the fuck out later. But that brat has to come in, so I don't have to go find him. With their heads down, the Sky Cloud Martial School's disciples still entered the circle. The other martial institutions' disciples were not targeted. After all, they were way too weak, so there was no point in targeting them. After everyone had entered, Ling Tiannan took a deep breath and said, The selection starts now. Boom, boom, boom. Almost at the same time Ling Tiannan spoke, the people in the circle had already started fighting. The powerful Zhen Qi gathered into a huge river, blowing a few people away. Chapter 72. Lin Xiaoxue turned around and asked Lin Tiannan, Dad, you always said that the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the North Snow Martial Academy were powerful. Then why did you send the mission to the other martial institutions? Lin Tiannan explained, What we think is one thing and what we actually do is another. We are only a small family. We need to build a good relationship with every martial institution. If we only send the mission to the Emerald Martial Palace and the North Snow Martial Academy, and some people find out the other martial institutions would not want to be friends with us anymore, their disciples would also hate us and cause us trouble. Therefore, you have to remember, when it comes to all the big martial institutions, you have to be fair. Do not show any favoritism. Yes, I understand. Lin Xiaoxue said thoughtfully. Ling Tiannan smiled. Although this trip to the Red Blood Forest is dangerous, it is also a good opportunity to build a good relationship with the disciples of the sect. Some of them might even become inner elders of the sect in the future. rising up to the heavens. Then, Dad, who do you think is better? Xiao Lai from the Emerald Martial Palace is not bad, but he is a bit too cruel, which might cause him trouble in the future. Wang Kunying from the Purple Sun Martial School is very aggressive, but he does not know how to control himself. I can't really comment on the disciples from the Rudra Martial School. As for the Sky Cloud Martial School, never mind, let's talk about the disciple from the North Snow Martial Academy. The disciple, named Wang Feng from the North Snow Martial Academy, is very good. Wang Feng? Lin Xiaoxue looked confused. She glanced at the people who were fighting. By then, there were already 7 or 8 people who had been blown out of the white circle. Most of them were from small martial institutions, but there was also one disciple from a big martial institution who happened to be from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Boom! In the crowd, a teenager from the North Snow Martial Academy exchanged a palm attack with a disciple from the Rudra Martial School. The power of their palms collided and created a huge shockwave that spread out in all directions. All of a sudden, another 3 people were blown out of the white circle. What surprised a lot of people was that Yi Qin, who had the lowest cultivation, was still standing in the middle of the white circle. He did not move at all, as if the shockwave had not affected him at all. Lin Tianan and Lin Xiaoxue were shocked. Their attention was originally on the cold-looking teenager Wang Feng, but Yi Chen's performance soon caught their attention. This person was not that simple after all. Wang Kuinyang was also surprised. After easily knocking away a disciple from a small martial institution, Wang Kuinyang changed his target and rushed towards Yi Chen. He grinned and said, "Little brat, kowtow to me, and lick my shoes now, then we can still talk. Otherwise, I will make you vomit 3 liters of blood today." Light yellow Zhen Qi exploded violently. Wang Kunying took 3 steps at a time. He flew towards Yi Chen like a thunderbolt. His right palm was hidden behind his waist. There was a yellow flame hidden in his palm. "If you survive 3 punches from me, I'll spare your life." Facing the aggressive Wang Kunying, Yi Chen was not afraid at all. He had made up his mind that he would use all of his power to attack Wang Kunying. If Wang Kunying could withstand his attacks, then it would be fine. If Wang Kunying could not withstand his attacks, then he deserved it. There had been disciples who were killed in the past anyway. It did not matter if there was 1 more or 1 less disciple. The Purple Sun Martial School would not be able to punish them. Wang Kuinyang was so angry that his 3 corpses jumped up. He clenched his right fist, and the yellow flame merged with the tip of his fist. "You are looking for death. Great Sunfire Fist." Compared to Yi Jun's Great Sunfire Fist, Wang Kunying's Great Sunfire Fist was way more aggressive and hotter. Once he threw out a punch, it was like a huge sun that could burn everything in its path. All of the disciples who were close to Yi Chen hurried to jump out of the way in case they were caught in the fire. Yi Chen stood where he was without moving. He waited until Wang Kunying's fist was 3 feet away from his body before he threw out a punch. The blue flame on his fist was burning brightly, leaving behind a beautiful blue light tail. All of a sudden, a tiger's roar shook the sky. The blue light was like a dragon, attacking with an unstoppable momentum. Top rank mortal realm martial skill. Tiger Roar, Dragon Fist. The 2 fists clashed against each other. The yellow and blue light intertwined with each other, continuously clashing and exploding, creating a firework-like explosion. Pooh! To everyone's surprise, Wang Kuinyang was the first one to break down. The clothes on his right arm suddenly exploded, revealing his muscular arm. Then, blood started to ooze out of his arm, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard from within. Wang Kunying could not help but puke out a mouthful of blood. He was blown away. "Where do you think you are going?" Yi Chen did not want to let him go so easily. He moved his feet and disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already very close to Wang Kunying's body, keeping the same speed as Wang Kunying. Raising his fist, Yi Chen threw out 2 punches at Wang Kunying's chest. Boom! Wang Kunying's fist sank an inch deep into Wang Kunying's chest, and the sound of his ribs breaking could be heard clearly. No. Wang Kunying puked out a mouthful of blood. He could not control his body anymore. He flew out of the white circle and crashed into the wall of the Ling family's house. The wall collapsed, and Wang Kunying's body was buried in it. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Silence. Absolute silence. It was dead silent as everyone stared at Yi Chen in a daze. Without giving the others time to be shocked, Yi Chen turned around and sneered at Xiao Lai. Didn't you say you wanted to break my arms and legs? I would like to see the difference between your so-called broken arms and legs and my understanding. Ling Tianan was shocked. Is this Yi Chen trying to kill Xiao Lai? Xiao Lai swallowed, pretended to be calm, and said, You don't even know that you are in big trouble. Do you know that Wang Kunying is an important disciple of the Purple Sun Martial School? Even if you kill him, you won't be able to live. If you admit your mistake now, you might still have a chance to live. Otherwise, you will die. Yi Chen did not care about Xiao Lai's threat at all. My Sky Cloud Martial School has lost many disciples. Last year, Brother Wu was killed by your Emerald Martial Palace's disciples, and Brother Fei was crippled by your Emerald Martial Palace's disciples. Sister Miao was also turned into an idiot by the Purple Sun Martial Palace's disciples. Now, I only crippled Wang Kunying, who has the right to criticize me. My principle is that a dead genius is no longer a genius, only a living genius. Today, you will not be able to escape from my 3 punches. If you don't die, I will let you go. As soon as he finished talking, Yi Chen performed his crane shadow steps and dashed toward Xiao Lai without leaving a trace. Xiao Lai lost track of Yi Chen in an instant. He felt numb in his scalp. He did not think that his attacking power was stronger than Wang Kunying's. If Wang Kunying could not even take 1 punch from him, then Xiao Lai would definitely not be able to. The only thing he could do now was to use his speed to escape and then find a chance to take revenge in the future. He wanted to kill Yi Chen while he was still young. Don't ever doubt his determination. The Emerald Martial Palace's disciples had plenty of ways to kill other martial institutions' disciples. Shoo! Xiao Lai did not care about whether he would be disqualified or not. He directly shot towards the outside of the white circle. He sneered in his mind, You want to hurt me? Dream on. Stay. Seeing that Xiao Lai was about to leave the white circle, Yi Chen raised his hand and shot out 5 sharp chi swords, blocking Xiao Lai's way. Chapter 73. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The speed of the chi sword was very fast. Everyone could only see 5 thin lines flashing by. Xiao Lai's chest, shoulder, waist, and abdomen were bleeding, and his body staggered. Not good, chi sword. Xiao Lai was shocked. If he did not stop for a while, there would have been a few bloody holes on his body. Even if he did not die, he would be crippled. Clear jade chi art. Very afraid of Yi Chen's chi sword attack, Xiao Lai immediately performed a top-rank Mortal Realm defense art from the Emerald Martial Palace. Clear jade chi art. All of a sudden, a green chi flow appeared around Xiao Lai's body, like a thin crystal. Ding ding ding. Yi Chen's second round of chi sword hit on the chi flow and made a sound of metal clashing. They could not go any further and were all bounced off. Body, dismemberment, hand. After successfully blocking Yi Chen's attack, Xiao Lai turned around and threw out a claw attack. Kalala! The ground was cracked by the claw power, and 5 curved blades of chi cut through the air, trying to cover Yi Chen. Traceless crane shadow, dragon in the sky. Yi Chen's body blurred in midair, and as he avoided the claw power, he appeared in the sky in front of Xiao Lai and threw out a punch. The strong blue light was blinding, and it was accompanied by a powerful tiger roar. When Xiao Lai got used to it, a flying dragon made of blue chi suddenly appeared in front of him. It was 18 meters long, shaking its head and tail, with sharp claws, it rushed toward Xiao Lai. I will kill you. Xiao Lai's eyes were wide open, and he did not retreat. His arms were like a big ball, and he blocked the blue flying dragon's attack. Boom! 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 Every time Xiao Lai took a step back, the ground under his feet would explode. After 10 steps, his whole body was blown into the air, and the blue light around him had dimmed a lot. 2 more punches. Yi Qin did not care about the fact that the Tiger Roar Dragon Fist would consume a lot of Jin Qi. He threw out another 2 ace attacks. The blue Qi dragons intertwined together and swallowed Xiao Lai up in the air, then carried his body up into the sky, making him look like a real flying dragon. Bang! A huge blue firework bloomed and dyed the nearby air into a different color. Not long after, a shadow landed near Wang Kunyang. Who? Yi Qin let out a long breath. The Tiger Roar Dragon Fist was a top-rank Mortal Realm fist art that he had chosen when he was choosing his pure Jun Jin Qi, and he had already trained it to the peak of completion half a month ago. As for the dragon in the sky, it was one of the killing moves of the Tiger Roar Dragon Fist. It consumed a lot of Jin Qi. Only 3 punches were equivalent to dozens of normal punches. Of course, it was also very powerful. Even if it was not as powerful as a low-rank Earth realm martial skill, it was not far from it. But then again, Xiao Lai was a mid-condensing reality realm warrior after all. He had the Jade Qing Qi art, which was a defensive martial art. It would be very difficult to hurt him with a long-range attack. If he had to blame something, he could only blame himself for not being able to dodge the first dragon in the sky, which had weakened his defense a lot. How could he block the next 2 punches? Looking up, Yi Qin noticed that many people were staring at him with their mouths agape, as if they were looking at a monster. 2 mid-condensing reality realm warriors couldn't even take 3 punches from him. Am I right? So powerful. When did the Sky Cloud Martial School have such a monster? When he reaches the mid-condensing reality realm, he won't even be afraid of late-condensing reality realm warriors. Of course, he won't be afraid. He had defeated 2 geniuses who were at a higher cultivation level than him. This kind of power is no longer a simple battle. The rest of the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial School all had the same thought in their minds. We can't let this guy live, otherwise he will become a powerful enemy in the future. I have to go back and inform my senior brothers and sisters and ask them to secretly kill him. We can't let him continue to grow. The only ones who were happy were the inner disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Inside the martial school, although the competition was intense, it was not to the extent of death or disability. But outside the martial school, the competition was 10 times more intense. Many geniuses of the Sky Cloud Martial School had been killed by assassinations, which was quite a pity. But now another inner disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School had risen up. How could they not be happy? After all, the more powerful their martial brothers and sisters were, the more face they would have when they walked outside, and more or less, it would be more or less a deterrent. On the other hand, it would be just like before, being laughed at by the other martial schools, but not daring to talk back. Well done, Senior Brother Yi. These Sky Cloud Martial School disciples did not have to call Yi Qin their teacher, but they should still call him Senior Brother. It would not be an insult to them. Yi Qin did not change his expression. He turned around and said to the disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace and the Purple Sun Martial School, "Do you want to walk out of the circle yourself, or do you want me to invite you out?" "Don't you dare." Someone could not let go of his pride. He subconsciously blurted out. Boom! That person's vision blurred, and Yi Qin's fist had already landed on his body, sending him flying. Seeing this, the rest of the people did not dare to say anything anymore. They all jumped out of the white circle. Yi Qin, you are so dead. My martial brothers and sisters will not let you go. No matter how powerful you are only an early condensing reality realm warrior. If you encounter a late condensing reality realm warrior, you will definitely die. Someone from the Emerald Martial Palace will definitely come to take care of you. The disciples from the Emerald Martial Palace had never been humiliated like this before. They carried the half-dead Xiao Lai out of the Ling family and said some harsh words before they left. There were only 3 disciples from the Purple Sun Martial Palace. One of them was dead or alive, one was badly injured, and the last one obviously could not take the other 2 away, so he did not dare to say any harsh words. He could only curse Yi Chen in his mind and swear that he would definitely take revenge for today's humiliation. Ling Tiannan's face was full of bitterness. He ordered people to carry Wang Kanyang and the other badly injured disciple to the inner courtyard. He was going to use the best medicine to cure them. Otherwise, even if the management of the Purple Sun Martial School did not blame them, it would still leave a bad impression on them. In the white circle, there were only 7 people left, Yi Chen alone, 3 disciples from the Rudra Martial School, and 3 disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy. Yi Chen had a good impression of these 2 disciples. At least he did not hate them. He said, 7, there are 2 more. Let's continue. No need. The tall girl was the leader of the Rudra Martial School disciples. She said to a male disciple standing next to her, Brother Yang, you are not as powerful. Leave. Yes. The disciple did not hesitate. He started walking out of the white circle. The leader of the North Snow Martial Academy disciples was Wang Feng. He also asked one of the weaker disciples to give up. There were exactly 5 people left in the circle. The tall girl smiled at Yi Chen and said, Brother Yi, you were so powerful just then. I, Xuemei, admire you so much. Yi Chen did not show any arrogance. He said, There are so many geniuses out there. I am nothing. I am afraid that even you don't think that I am a unique genius. Yuan Xuemei paused for a second, then laughed and said, Interesting indeed. There are a lot of people like you who can beat geniuses who are at a higher cultivation level than you. But you have to be careful. The Purple Sun Martial Palace and the Emerald Martial Palace disciples will not let this go easily. I heard that the Blood Demon from the Emerald Martial Palace is also doing a mission in this area. Do not run into him, or you will be in danger. Blood Demon. Yi Chen slightly frowned. This guy should be an inner disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace. He even got the nickname of Blood Demon. Chapter 74. Yi Chen asked, What level of strength does this bloodthirsty mad demon belong to? He did not ask about his opponent's cultivation level, because for geniuses, cultivation level did not mean anything. There were a lot of mid-condensing reality realm warriors who could beat late condensing reality realm warriors. What mattered most was their combat power. Yuan Xuemei glanced at Wang Feng and explained, Brother Yi, have you ever heard about the 3 great ranks of the young generation of the Windy Nation? Yi Chen shook his head. Perhaps other disciples who often roamed the Jianghu would know about this. But he had just become an inner disciple not long ago, and his network was not big, so there were some things that he did not know. Then I'll tell you. Yuan Xuemei organized her thoughts and said slowly, Although the Windy Nation didn't have as many geniuses as the other nations, there were still quite a lot of them. Generally speaking, the truly talented geniuses would be divided into 3 groups. There were only 3 people on the first step. They were Young Master Emerald from the Emerald Martial Palace, Young Master North Snow from the North Snow Martial Academy, and Young Master Duanmu from the Duanmu family. These 3 were the leaders of the young generation of the Windy Nation. They were qualified to compete with the top martial geniuses from other nations. They could also participate in the South Rudra region hidden dragon rank competition that was held once every 3 years. There were quite a lot of people in the second group, including the core disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace. Palm Extreme, Lu Wuxiang, Stone Man Sherpatian, Tyrannical Blade Yu, North Snow Quick Blade Lynch, Purple Sun Martial School's core disciples. Rushing Thunderhand, Ouyang Lai, Little Godly Legs, Ouyang Ming, our Rudra Martial School's first sister and second brother, Lotus Fairy, Qin Yulian, and Rain Hero Nangong Yin, and Your Sky, Cloud Martial School's core. Disciples, Hidden Fragrance Sword, Zhu Mei and Hans Han Child, Luo Hans Han. Of course, the more people there were, the greater the disparity between them. The strongest might easily defeat the weakest, but they would still be ranked in the second tier. As for the third group, there were a lot of them, and they were all core disciples of different martial institutions. Most of them were at the late condensing reality realm, and were expected to become the mainstay of the Windy Nation. Yi Qin frowned. Bloodthirsty Mad Demon is a genius of the third rank. That's not it. He's one of the strongest disciples below the 3 great ranks. If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation is a little low, it wouldn't be impossible for him to enter the 3rd rank, Yuan Shuamei explained. After hearing so much, Yi Qin drew a more detailed division of strength in his mind, from high to low, in an orderly manner. It was not like before, when he had a hazy understanding of the strength of the sect disciples, and he had to rely on himself to analyze it, which was a mess. As for the hidden dragon rank competition, he had heard about it a long time ago. The South Rudra region was the smallest region in the true spirit continent, but it was still many times bigger than the world that Yi Qin came from. It had a radius of thousands of miles, and there were 3 big countries, 10 medium-sized countries, and 24 small countries like the Windy Nation. The martial artists of the major countries did not have much contact with each other. The distance between them was also too far, so it was difficult for them to completely understand the level of the martial artists of the other countries. For this reason, the 3 top countries in the South Rudra region had joined hands and set up a competition 60 years ago, which was the Hidden Dragon Rank competition. The competition of the Hidden Dragon Rank was prepared for young people. Any warrior who was under 24 years old and had reached the mid-condensing reality realm could participate. It was held once every 3 years, and there were 72 people who could participate. The whole South Rudra region had tens of billions of people, and it would be such an honor to be able to pick out the 72 most powerful young warriors from tens of billions of people. No one would not be tempted. According to Yi Chen's knowledge, in the last Hidden Dragon Rank competition, which was 1 year ago, young Master Emerald from the Emerald Martial Palace was ranked 68th, while young Master North Snow from the North Snow Martial Academy and young Master Duanmu from the Duanmu family did not make it. Of course, this did not mean that young Master Jadeite was stronger than the other 2. After all, sometimes if one was unlucky, it would be useless to meet an opponent who could restrain one's cultivation. A lot of information flashed through his mind. Yi Qin nodded to Yuan Shuamei and said, "Thank you for telling me. I will be careful." Wang Feng, who had a cold expression on his face, said, "The bloodthirsty demon does not necessarily have a weakness. As long as you can find it, you will be able to beat him with the least amount of effort." Yi Qin forced a smile. The disciples of the North Snow Martial Academy were the best at beating the stronger ones. They would find the enemy's weakness and attack it with all their strength, not giving them any chance to fight back. Unfortunately, he was not a disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy. Even if he had a powerful soul power, it would be hard for him to attack the enemy's weakness effectively. No matter what, an opponent as powerful as the bloodthirsty demon would not be beaten by him with only one attack. Ling Xiaoxue saw the few of them standing there without any intention to come over, so she had to remind them, "Congratulations to the 5 of you for becoming the temporary guards for the herb collecting team tomorrow." "Thank you." Yuan Shuamei smiled back. Ling Tianen said, "I have already asked people to prepare rooms for the 5 of you. Dinner will be served in the lobby, and there will be someone to remind you. Also, the Red Blood Forest is very dangerous, so you all have to prepare for your own safety. Tonight, you should focus on resting." "Thank you." Leader Ling, the few of them did not dare to underestimate the Red Blood Forest. There were a lot of beasts in the forest, and rank 4 beasts were not uncommon. It would be fine if they ran into a weaker one, but if they ran into a top rank 4 beast, even young Master Emerald and the others might not be able to win. They might even die in there and become nutrients for the soil. The sky quickly darkened. After dinner, the few of them went back to their own rooms and stayed inside. The night was quiet. The next morning, the 5 of them followed the herb-collecting team and the Ling family's guards towards the Red Blood Forest, which was located west of the Black Rock City. In the dead, silent forest, everyone was walking quietly. Pairs of vigilant eyes were constantly scanning the dark corners of the forest. Those who had weapons were holding them tightly, while those who did not had been secretly channeling their Jin Qi, preparing themselves for any possible danger. Although everyone was being extremely careful, death was still unavoidable. A member of the Ling family's guard team fell onto the ground with a green face and white foam coming out of his mouth. Lin Xiaoxue frowned and hurried over. After a careful examination, the crowd discovered that there was a large, bright green spider crawling on the neck of the dead Ling family guard. When it came over, it was probably hanging on a tree branch. When the crowd passed by, it then silently landed on the neck of the guard and poisoned him. It's the dark green poison dragon spider. Lin Xiaoxue's face turned pale. This kind of spider was only a rank 1 demonic beast, but the poison inside its body was very strong. It could kill a condensing reality realm warrior within a second. It was called the Death Messenger by the warriors who frequented the Red Blood Forest, meaning that the victim could not be saved. Yi Chen secretly gasped. He thought that the Red Blood Forest would not be as dangerous as the Silent Hills. If he could survive in the Silent Hills, then he would definitely be able to survive in the Red Blood Forest as well. However, he was wrong. The Red Blood Forest was not only dangerous for the powerful beasts, but also for the weak ones. If that spider had bitten him, he might have died. Chapter 75. Miss, there is no hope. Let's just keep going. The vice captain of the herb collecting team sighed and suggested. Lin Xiaoxue nodded, stood up, and said, "Everyone, the Red Blood Forest is extremely dangerous. Accidents are bound to happen. But don't worry, the dead will not die in vain. The Ling family will compensate your family with 100,000 silvers, and the rest of you will get 10,000 each. If something happens to me, it will be the same. Miss, you are such a good person. Then we can rest assured. Yeah, as a warrior, accidents are normal. I am just worried that my family will lose their support." There were only 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, and the rest were all at the mortal realm. With their strength, even if they hunted demonic beasts every day, it would still take them a few months to earn 100,000 silvers. But that was impossible. No one could stay in a place where demonic beasts gathered every day. Normally, a normal mortal realm warrior would need at least 5 years to earn 100,000 silvers, and that was assuming that they didn't die all the time. After all, if they were unlucky, they might even run into a high-level demonic beast, and they wouldn't even be able to run away. Now, Lin Xiaoxue had compensated the families of the dead with 100,000 silvers, which meant that they did not have to worry about their families anymore. Plus, if they survived, they would also have 10,000 silvers, which boosted their morale even more. This girl has the temperament of a leader. Lin Xiaoxue's actions made Yi Chen secretly nod. The dead had already died, and the rest of the people still had to continue their journey. As they went deeper, they felt like they had entered another world, completely separated from the busy city. The Red Blood Forest was indeed worthy of its name. Along the way, they had encountered 4 waves of beasts. The first wave was 3 underground demon rats, which were rank 2 beasts. The second wave was a large group of silver ring snakes, which were rank 2 beasts. The third wave was 5 scorpion demon wolves, which were top rank 3 beasts. The fourth wave was a blind mighty rock bear, which was a rank 4 beast. Under the attacks of the third and fourth waves of demonic beasts, no one was killed or even injured. However, the first and second waves of demonic beasts had killed 4 members of the guard team and herb gathering team. If it weren't for Yi Chen and the rest's quick reactions, it wasn't impossible for more than half of the team to die. The underground demon rat was not very powerful. Under normal circumstances, even a mortal realm stage 7 or 8 warrior could easily beat it. But when it was hiding underground, It was a nightmare for mortal realm warriors and even early condensing reality realm warriors. Among the guards, a mortal realm stage 10 warrior was dragged into the deep cave by the underground demon, Rat, without any resistance. His screams lasted for a long time before it stopped. The second and third underground devil rats were unlucky. They targeted Yi Chen and Yuan Shuamei. Before they could crawl out of the ground, they were shocked to death by Yi Chen and Yuan Shuamei Jinchi. The other underground devil rat was so scared that it ran away. If the underground devil rats had traumatized everyone, then the second wave of demonic beasts, a large group of silver ring snakes, had terrified them. The silver ring snake was a rank 2 beast. It had an oval head, and its whole body was lined with white and black rings. The white rings were relatively narrow, and its tail was long and thin. Its body length was 3 to 4 meters, and it was as thick as an arm. Its poison was slightly weaker than the dark green poison dragon spider, but once a condensing reality realm warrior was bitten, he or she would die in a short period of time. The silver ring snake's attacks were very strange. From the top of the trees, in the bushes, under the fallen leaves, it attacked from all directions. The sound it made was like a storm. It was crazy. At this critical moment, the disciple of the North Snow Martial Academy, Wang Feng, used his blizzard sword art. Wherever the icy cold sword chi went, the silver ring snake's speed would be slowed down immediately. Those that were close to it would be cut into pieces. Wang Feng had blocked half of the silver ring snakes, all by himself. Yi Chen and Yuan Shuamei were not weak either. They both used their martial arts to kill the silver ring snakes from 10 steps away. Unfortunately, the range that they could protect was limited. 1 herb collecting team member and 2 guard team members were bitten by dozens of silver ring snakes. They were poisoned to death immediately and died on the ground. Lin Xiaoshue's face was very pale. It was not only because they were getting closer to the deeper part of the red blood forest where there were more and more demonic beasts, but also because there were too many people that had died and the amount of compensation was too high. It was not that she was stingy, but this time she had spent 100,000 gold and 50 chi healing pellets to hire 5 martial disciples. The total value was almost 250,000 gold, which would be 2.5 million silver. Now, 5 people had died, and the compensation was 500,000 silver, and the ones that survived would each get 10,000 silver. It would be more than 3.5 million silver. For a small family like the Ling family, 5 million silver was already a huge loss. It was easy for them to run out of money, and if they ran out of money, it would usually bankrupt a small family. Biting her lips, Lin Xiaoxue hoped that there would be a good harvest. After walking for another 10 miles, Yi Chen suddenly felt that the natural yuan qi around them had become a lot denser, and there was a faint mist in the distance. Lin Xiaoxue obviously felt the change in the yuan qi and said excitedly, "We are almost at the herb collecting location. Let's work harder." Oh, everyone from the Ling family could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Along the way, they had been very nervous and did not dare to relax for even a second. They were afraid that if they let their guard down, they would become the prey of the demonic beasts and would never be able to leave the red blood forest and return to their warm homes. Luckily, there was always a reward. After they finished collecting the herbs, it should be a lot easier to go back. After a while, they came to the side of a huge basin. Looking around, the basin was several miles in size, and it was filled with all kinds of herbs such as black ring grass, silver bell grass, gold pearl iron blood grass, starflower, centipede flower, vermilion fruit, black snake fruit, 7-star pearl grass, tricolor date tree, neverwinter date tree, and hundreds of different kinds of herbs could be found here and there. Dense spiritual energy gathered in the sky, forming a faint mist that was faintly discernible. It was like a paradise on earth, a paradise in the mist. So many herbs. Everyone in the herb collecting team's eyes lit up and their breathing sped up. These herbs might not be worth much individually, but when there were so many of them, it would be very scary. If they could collect all of them, they would be able to sell for 1 or 2 million silvers, and if they were made into pellets, the price would be 10 times higher. It would not be a problem to make 10 million silvers. Some of the more valuable herbs would be even more expensive than that. For example, the gold pearl iron bloodgrass, which was used to make the qi healing pellet, was a rare herb. One of them could be sold for 1,000 silvers, which was even more expensive than a good weapon. Lin Xiaoxue looked very happy, but she did not let the excitement get to her head. She ordered, 2 of the guard team members will protect one of the herb collecting team members. Split up. If anything happens, don't do anything on your own. Report to me immediately. Yes. Along the way, the guard team members had made a lot of contributions. If it were not for them protecting the herb collecting team members, more people would have died. However, it was all worth it. Besides the money they were supposed to get, each of them could get an extra 10,000 silvers, which was equivalent to a couple of months' income. After arranging their tasks, Lin Xiaoxue also joined the herb collecting team. From time to time, she would let out a scream. Obviously, some of the herbs were very valuable. Yuan Xuemei smiled and said, "This basin's natural yuan qi is very rich. There might be some demonic beasts here. Let's patrol around." Yi Qin nodded. "You're right. Everyone should take care of their own areas." All right. Since they had been paid, the 5 of them would each take a position and patrol around. Occasionally, they would pick some herbs and put them in their storage rings. Chapter 76. Just as Yuan Xuemei had expected, there were indeed some demonic beasts hiding in the basin. There were fist-sized deadly bees, 1,000 transformation dragons that could change their skin color freely, King Kong birds that usually hid in the tree trunks and slept, and rock-armored pigs that would go on a rampage when angered. Fortunately, these beasts were not of high levels, and there were not many of them. Only a few of them were injured, and none of them were killed. At this moment, Yi Chen's pure Junjin Qi had shown its true power. He could attack with Qi swords from hundreds of steps away, which were as powerful as an early condensing reality realm warrior's full power attack. It could easily save people from danger, and he could also multitask from time to time, shooting out a few Qi swords to help the herb collecting team members. Swoosh! As the last 2 deadly bees were shot down by the Qi swords, Yi Chen had a thoughtful look on his face. It seemed that the closer they got to the center of the basin, the higher the chance of beasts appearing. Those deadly bees had come from the beehives in the deepest part of the basin. They were only 1/3 bigger than normal deadly bees, and their flying speed was as fast as birds in the sky. "Everyone, let's pick the herbs in the outer part of the basin first, then we can go deeper in." Activating his Zhen Qi, Yi Chen's voice traveled miles away, as if it was right next to their ears. Lin Xiaoxue also said, "Warrior Yi is right. Let's finish picking the herbs in the outer part first, then gather at my place." Actually, even without Yi Chen's reminder, the herb collecting team members already knew that it was not safe in the deepest part of the basin. But knowing was one thing. Sometimes when they saw some precious herbs not far away, they could not help but walk towards them, completely forgetting about the danger. Yuan Xuemei's patrol area was right next to Yi Chen's. Every once in a while, the 2 would bump into each other. Right then, Yuan Xuemei suddenly said, "Don't you think the natural yuan qi in the basin is too rich?" "Yes, a little bit. Maybe the herbs and this basin have formed a yuan qi cycle, nourishing each other, causing the natural yuan qi to be much richer than other places." Yi Qin thought about it, but could not think of any other reason. Yuan Xuemei shook her head. "It's not the same. Places with herbs do have rich, natural yuan qi, but I have seen bigger herb gardens, but they are nowhere close to this place." Yi Qin stared at her. "You mean there is something else?" "I guess so. When we reach the depths, we can investigate it." Yi Qin nodded. If it was really as the other party said it was necessary to investigate, perhaps they might find something valuable. Time passed by quickly. By the time most of the herbs in the periphery were harvested, It was already close to noon. Lin Xiaoxue put the baskets of herbs into her storage ring, then took out the food that she had prepared beforehand and handed it out. "Miss, how's the harvest?" The vice captain of the herb gathering team couldn't help but ask. Lin Xiaoxue smiled and said, "Based on my initial estimation, the total value of the herbs we just obtained is more than 300,000 silvers. If we make them into pellets, we can easily earn 3 or 4 million silvers." That's good. The Ling family's main path of development was medicine refinement. If there were more medicinal herbs, they would earn more money. If there were losses, they would also be implicated, and their lives would become difficult. They were bound together for good or ill. When they arrived at where Yi Chen and the group were, Lin Xiaoxue said, gratefully, "Thank you for protecting us along the way. In the future, if you need any pellets, you can buy them from our Ling family. We will give you a basic price." Actually, these were just polite words. The martial disciples were never short of money. If they were short of anything, they would only be short of a lot of money. However, that was not important. What was most important was to have a good relationship with the martial disciples, because it would help the Ling family a lot in the future. Wang Feng said lightly, "Since we have accepted the mission, we will try our best. There is no need to thank us." Lin Xiaoxue was a bit embarrassed. As a woman, she would eventually have to marry someone. She did not think highly of those rich young masters. They seemed to be very powerful, but in fact, they only had the power of their families. If they lost their families, they would be nothing. If she had to marry someone, it would be best to marry a martial disciple. For example, a genius like Wang Feng and Yi Chen. Judging from his appearance and temperament, he must be from a big family. He was not short of money, and he was very powerful. He was the ideal marriage partner for most young girls. However, on the way here, she realized that Wang Feng was very cold and kept people thousands of miles away from him. Yi Chen, on the other hand, seemed to be kind and friendly, but in fact he was even more ruthless. Yuan Xuemei was smart, and she was also a woman, so she could easily understand Lin Xiaoxue's actions. However, she still shook her head. Warriors and normal people would not have much in common, so it would be very difficult for them to get married. In her eyes, Lin Xiaoxue was only a mortal realm warrior after all. If there were no accidents, she would probably be stuck at the condensing reality realm for the rest of her life. When one reached the level of Wang Feng and Yi Chen, the biggest goal in life was to become more powerful. Everything else was secondary. Even when they reached a certain age, if they needed something, they would usually find a woman who was not that different from them, and rarely would they choose a normal person. Putting herself in their shoes, Yuan Xuemei would not fall for a normal person either. If Wang Feng and Yi Chen knew what Yuan Xuemei was thinking, they would probably agree with her. Indeed, for them, no matter how beautiful Lin Xiaoxue was, she was just a normal person. She would not have anything to do with them in the future. Instead of sleeping with her in the future, why would they even bother? Boom! Right at that moment, the ground suddenly started shaking violently, as if something was trying to crawl out of the ground. The next second, a milky white beam of light shot out from the center of the basin. It was about 10 meters thick, and it shot straight up into the sky, creating a huge hole in the clouds. The already rich, natural yuan qi above the basin became even more dense, forming clouds of yuan qi fog. It was hazy and invisible, and when one inhaled it, his zhen qi seemed to grow a little bit stronger. Yuan Xuemei blurted out, "Yuan qi turned into a pillar. There is a spirit fountain down there." Hearing her, Yi Chen and Wang Feng looked shocked. They did not expect that there would be a spirit fountain down there. Normally, there would be spirit stones where there was a spirit fountain, and spirit stones were a necessity for warriors. They just did not know how big this spirit fountain was. If it was just a small one, then it would not be a big deal. But if it was a big one, then all of the top martial institutions in the Windy Nation would gather there to fight for the ownership of the spirit fountain. 10 miles away from the basin, The three men in black raised their heads at the same time. Yuan Qi turned into a pillar. The spirit fountain has appeared. Should we go back and report to Master Guijiang? After all, the top martial institutions would soon know about the appearance of the spirit fountain. No need. Let's use our secret art to cover the smell of the spirit fountain first. Otherwise, even if we report to Master Guijiang, it would be too late. You are right. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Shoo! 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 The three of them turned into strange black shadows, flying in the dark and lush forest. Their speed was unbelievably fast, and within a blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. Chapter 77. Turning around, Yuan Shuamei said to Lin Xiaoxue, "Now, take everyone and go deeper into the cave." All right. Xiaoxue also knew the importance of the spirit fountain, but she did not have the slightest intention of taking it. With the Ling family's power, there was no way they could take a spirit fountain, even if it was the smallest one. If she thought about it, it would only lead to death. Yi Chen, Wang Feng, and Yuan Shuamei took the lead, while the other two sect disciples brought up the rear. The group of more than 50 people headed deeper into the forest. Chi, 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 chi sword shot out, and before the swarm of killer bees could even get close, they were sliced in half in the air and scattered down like rain. Yuan Shuamei praised, "Brother Yi, your cultivation technique should be pure Junjin Qi, right? I've seen a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School use it before, but that person could only emit Qi aura and couldn't reach the level of condensing Qi into a sword. I wonder what level Brother Yi has cultivated it to." Yi Chen said, "I'm not talented, but I recently broke through to the 7th layer." Oh, Yuan Shuamei and Wang Feng both looked surprised. It was not that easy to train a top-rank mortal realm art to the highest level. Normally, if a person could train a top-rank mortal realm art to the 5th level within 2 years, he would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 6th level would be considered as a genius, and reaching the 7th level would be extremely rare. The deeper they went, the more demonic beasts there were. He had just killed a group of killer bees when 3 more green-armored lizards rushed out. Dripping water pierces stone. As an inner disciple of the Rudra martial school, and a mid-condensing reality realm martial artist, Yuan Shuamei was naturally not weak. A thin sword appeared in her hand. She slightly shook her wrist, and 3 thin sword lights shot out. Although they were very fast, they looked very slow. Puchi! 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 The 3 green-armored lizards didn't have time to launch an attack. A sword hole appeared on each of their foreheads. They whimpered and fell to the ground. Great sword art! The Rudra Martial School's water drop sword spell is indeed worthy of its reputation. Wang Feng's cold voice came out with a rare compliment. Yuan Shuamei replied modestly, "I've let the 2 of you see a joke." After walking for another kilometer, the group finally arrived at the center of the basin. The Yuan Qi here was more than twice as dense as outside. The thin mist of Yuan Qi was moist, as if it was going to liquefy into Yuan Qi rain. Unfortunately, because of the impact of the Yuan Qi light pillar, the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was chaotic and violent and could not be guided into the body normally. Forcefully guiding it would only make one's Yuan Qi unstable, which was not worth it. Otherwise, it would be an excellent place to cultivate. Looking at the scale of the Yuan Qi light pillar, Yuan Shuamei shook her head. "So it's a fake spiritual vein." "Fake spiritual vein? How can you tell?" Yi Chen didn't quite understand. Wang Feng, who was standing on the side, opened his mouth and said, "A fake spirit vein is a spirit vein that hasn't fully formed yet. There can't be spirit stones inside. Even if there are only a few of them, and the quality is far inferior to normal spirit stones. They can only be counted as low-quality spirit stones. However, for some small or medium-sized clans, it is already very good. As for how to tell, it's very simple. Look at the color of the center of the Yuan Qi light pillar. If it's white with yellow, it means it's a small spirit vein. If it's white with orange, it means it's a medium spirit vein. If it's white with red, it means it's a large spirit vein. According to the legends, there's a white with purple top rank spirit vein, but I don't know if it's true or not. Yuan Shuame was very knowledgeable. Hearing this, she said, "There is indeed a top rank spirit vein. 300 years ago, Su King found a small top rank spirit vein from the bottom of the sea. It was more than 300 miles long, and the widest part was more than 50 miles. He used his peerless power to pull it out from the bottom of the sea and brought it back to his clan's gate. It made Yuan Qi rain all year round, and the training speed was 100 times faster than the outside world. 300 years, pulling out a top-rank spirit vein. Yuan Qi rain." Yi Qin secretly clicked his tongue. Although he knew that life and death realm warriors could reverse life and death, and could live for more than 1,000 years, and all of them were extremely powerful, when it was confirmed, he was still very shocked. At the same time, he felt bitter for his lack of imagination. The Yuan Qi light beam lasted for a quarter of an hour before it started to weaken. The huge amount of Yuan Qi was like a fountain spreading out in all directions, nourishing the plants. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the plants in the basin were so abundant. Most of it was because the fake spirit vein would explode every once in a while, nourishing the plants. Seeing that the plants in the center of the basin were even more abundant and precious, Lin Xiaoxue couldn't help but smile. She ordered the herb collecting team members, "Hurry, let's get moving. Guards, help out as well. Be careful." Yes, even without Lin Xiaoxue's order, the herb collecting team members' eyes had already turned red. They had never seen so many plants in their lives, and they were as abundant as grass. Yi Qin smiled. Even he was very interested in the plants here. However, since he had accepted the mission, he would not do anything that was against the mission. Of course, there were so many plants here, so it was okay for him to pick some, since there were so many of them. Shoo! 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 No one knew when, but 3 men in black appeared outside of the basin. "The Yuan Qi light beam has weakened. Let's go and check it out." "Wait, there are a lot of footprints around. There are quite a lot of people." One of the men in black looked around, trying to stop his partner from acting recklessly. The bad-tempered man in black kicked away a startled wild boar and said angrily, "Fuck! Who dares to get in front of us?" It should be the herb collecting team from the nearby cities. "Look, all the plants around here have been picked up. They are very experienced. There shouldn't be any powerful warriors in the herb collecting team, so we don't have to worry about them." The 3 of them talked for a while, then walked towards the deeper part of the basin along with the bushes that had been pushed aside. Their speed was neither slow nor slow, and they always kept the same pace. Soon, the 3 of them arrived at the center of the basin. It really is the herb collecting team. Didn't they see the Yuan Qi light beam? That's impossible. That light beam can be seen from tens of miles away. Could it be a fake spirit vein? Damn, we came for nothing. What do you mean by nothing? Didn't you see that girl? She is quite pretty. We have stayed in the Ghost Corpse Mountain for many years, and we have never been close to women. Now that we have finally become low-level ghost guards, we are qualified to leave the mountain and try our luck. How could we let go of this opportunity? Hee. The 3 of them looked at each other with a strange look on their faces. Shoo! Suddenly, a Qi sword flew over from 100 steps away, as fast as a bird. "You are looking for death." The bad-tempered man in black did not retreat, and threw a punch right at the Qi sword. Boom! The Qi sword exploded, and the sound alerted the people nearby. "You 3, this is not a place for you to stay. Leave now." Yi Qin, Yuan Shuame, and Wang Feng walked over, coldly staring at the 3 men in black. The 3 men in black were good at hiding their auras, but how could they hide from Yi Qin, who had a powerful soul power? They were discovered by him the moment they appeared. Chapter 78. The leading man in black had a scrawny face and a pair of narrow and shiny eyes, which contained all kinds of insidious and cunning. He chuckled and said, "It has always been others avoiding us, not us. Brat, you seem to be a disciple of a martial institution. Put down your storage ring and cut off one of your arms. Only then will you have a chance to live. Did you attack me just now? If you cut off one of your arms, I will spare your life. But your female partner will have to stay. A female condensing reality, realm warrior, should be fun to play with." The man in black with a hideous face looked extremely hideous. "My two fellow disciples might not be nice, but this is the only way for you to live. Anyone who resists will die." The man in black, who seemed to be the calmest of the group, also spoke. On the other side, Ling Xiaoxiwe and the others had all stopped picking herbs. Their faces were pale. Where did these three people come from? They did not look like living people. Their bodies were emitting an extremely evil and horrifying aura, just like demons. "Miss, these three are not kind people. I am afraid they are in danger." The captain of the guard team was also a mid-condensing reality realm warrior. His eyesight was 10 times better than Lin Xiaoxiwe and the rest of the guards. With just a glance, he could tell that these men in black were more powerful than him. Especially the calmest man in black. He seemed to be at the late condensing reality realm. His Gen Qi was filled with a strong evil and corrosive Qi. Ling Xiaoxiwe raised her hand. "Let's wait and see." There were 6 condensing reality realm warriors in the guard team, plus 5 martial disciples. There were 11 condensing reality realm warriors in total. The leader and vice leader of the guard team were both at the mid-condensing reality realm. Wang Feng, Yuan Xuemei, and the other 2 martial disciples were also at the mid-condensing reality realm. So, there were 4 mid-condensing reality realm warriors on their side. Obviously, they were more powerful than the men in black. If even the martial disciples could not handle the situation, then they would have to attack together. Ha ha ha! Wang Feng, who had been silent all this time, laughed out loud. "Interesting, interesting. I have never seen such an arrogant person. Yi Chen, Yuan Xuemei, each pick an opponent, but leave the most powerful one to me. I would like to see if his words about those who resists will die will come true." Yi Chen smiled. "All right, I will take care of the one who looks like a withered tree. Leave the last one to me. Since he wants to play with women, I will let him know how scary women can be." Yuan Xuemei was calm and collected, but her calm tone contained a dense killing intent. "Hee. Everyone says that sect disciples are incomparably arrogant, and it seems to be true. Kill." The ferocious-looking, black-robed man stomped on the ground and punched out, enveloping the 3 of them in his fist energy. He was arrogant and ferocious. "Your opponent is me." Yuan Xuemei's hand shook, and the snow-silver thin sword burst out a sky-covering sword light, colliding with the opponent's fist energy. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of air explosions rang out incessantly, and the 2 of them quickly moved to another place. Clang! Wang Feng unsheathed his saber and locked onto the aura of the leading man in black. Die! The saber light was like snow, and the saber energy was like a gale. The wind and snow intertwined, making it difficult for the human eye to look directly at them. Wang Feng immediately used the Northern Snow Martial Academy's unique martial art, the Blizzard Sword Art. Compared to Yi Tang, his Blizzard Sword Art was much colder and more violent. Once he used it, the whole world seemed to have disappeared. Only the snow-like sword light could be seen. Corpse King Fist. Explode! The leading man in black was expressionless. Facing the incoming saber light, he directly threw out a punch. The saber light was shattered, and the blizzard disappeared. The man in black was neither happy nor angry. He threw out another punch. Great! Unyielding snow frost! Wang Feng held his saber with both of his hands and threw out a crazy attack. The icy cold saber light condensed on the edge of the saber and sliced through the air with the power of the blizzard. A white light flashed, and Wang Feng's attack missed. The man in black's right hand was on the back of the saber, and his left hand formed a fist and threw out another attack. Bang! Wang Feng, who had collided head-on with the man in black, was pushed back 10 steps, and his body seemed to be staggering. Yi Qin frowned. This man in black is not easy to deal with. But Wang Feng is one of the most powerful inner disciples in the Northern Snow Martial Academy. He should have some special skills. It is still too early to tell who will win. Little Brat looking around is a big taboo for warriors. Die! The evil man in black shook his body and turned into a few beams of black light, attacking Yi Qin from different directions. 10 ghost shadow flash. The black light split open and then doubled in size, turning into 8 of them. It was like a demon dancing in the sky, and the ghostly shadows were everywhere. Anyone would faint just by looking at it. An almost inaudible, air-piercing sound came into his ears, but Yi Qin was not surprised at all. He leaned back and disappeared without a trace. Crack! A crack appeared on the ground, and the evil man in black looked surprised. His 10 ghost shadow flash was always successful. Even late condensing reality realm warriors would be confused by it and killed easily. But he had never met a condensing reality realm warrior who had a better movement art than him. What the hell? The evil man in black realized that Yi Qin was not easy to deal with, so he performed his 10 ghost shadow flash again. But unlike before, this time the black light was covered with a layer of grayish-white qi. Wherever it went, the flowers and trees withered, the ground cracked, and a faint, burnt smell spread out. Shoo! The surface of his Zhen Qi was showing signs of being corroded. Yi Qin did not dare to be careless. He activated his Pure June Zhen Qi's special protective qi. Countless sharp qi flows combined together, killing the grayish-white qi. Break for me! The black light merged together, and the evil man in black appeared behind Yi Qin. His right claw, which was surrounded by the grayish-white qi, grabbed towards Yi Qin. The next moment, the air exploded violently, and a huge hole was created in the protective qi layer, which almost hurt Yi Qin. Of course, the man in black was not in a good condition either. His palms were pierced by the qi layer, leaving many tiny wounds on them. Blood was oozing out of the wounds, as if he had been stung by a hornet. I am so angry! The man in black cursed. The other 2 were doing very well, and he was the only one who was suffering. But it seemed that this brat in front of him was only at the early condensing reality realm. Without touching the ground, Yi Qin lightly stepped on a herb. Zhen Qi has a corrosive effect. I guess you are not supposed to show your identity. So what? The ghost corpse Zhen Qi has not shown its true power yet. You are dead. I'm going to turn you into a bronze armored corpse. The evil man in black threw out a palm attack, and a huge amount of grayish-white Zhen Qi swept out, rushing towards Yi Qin's position like a flood. The ground cracked and burned. The herbs were burned into ashes. Wherever the grayish-white Zhen Qi went, nothing could survive, and a black path was created. Yi Qin sneered. You really think I cannot kill you? His whole body was filled with Zhen Qi, and Yi Qin's aura kept increasing. Eventually, he jumped out of the ground and rushed into the sky above the red blood forest. At the same time, he slowly threw out a punch, as if he was pulling 10 horses. It was extremely strenuous. Tyrant Fist, the first movement, Tyrant's Rampage. Deciding to end the battle quickly, Yi Qin did not hold back anymore. He directly performed the low-rank Earth Realm Fist art that he had recently mastered, the Tyrant Fist. Chapter 79. Qin. As he threw out a punch, the fist power squeezed the air in front of him, making a loud noise. After the corpse ghost genuine qi resisted it for a while, it flowed backward at an even faster speed. Not only that, the corpse ghost genuine qi was compressed from a few meters thick to half a meter in diameter under the power of the Tyrant Fist. It looked like a grayish-white pillar of light. How is this possible? He infused all of my ghost corpse Jin Qi into his fist power. The man in black opened his eyes wide. His pupils were filled with fear and desperation. Before he could do anything, he was pierced through by the gray light beam. Whoosh! The two halves of the black-clothed man's body began to burn and turn into ashes. Brother Tian, the man in black, who was fighting with Wang Feng, could not believe his eyes. Although Tian was not as powerful as him, his fighting power was not to be underestimated. Even he would need hundreds of attacks to defeat him. Plus, there were many condensing reality realm warriors in the Ghost Corpse Mountain, and only the most elite disciples could become low-level ghost guards. He thought that with their power, they would be able to compete with the disciples from the martial institutions, and that these small fries in front of him would be easy to kill. But now, reality had slapped him in the face. He was completely stunned. Wang Feng had been suppressed by the man in black. Seeing that the man in black was in a daze, he knew that this was the only chance he had. He threw out a blade attack, and a bone-chilling blade power swept across the area. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The leader was a late condensing reality realm warrior after all. As soon as he sensed the incoming blade power, he immediately activated his Jin Qi and created a grayish-white circle of light, blocking the incoming ice-cold and explosive blade power. Corpse King Fist. Die! With bloodshot eyes, the man in black threw out a punch. Wang Feng had already experienced the Corpse King Fist from the man in black. It was extremely powerful and had a corrosive effect which could destroy Jin Qi. He did not dare to take it head-on. His feet touched the ground and flew backward. At the same time, the colorful snow blade in his hand did not stop. He threw out 13 blade lights. The man in black did not look at the result. He bent down and punched the ground. Hell Locust Wave! The ground within a radius of 10 meters started to shake. The next second, a 5-meter thick, gray, mushroom-shaped air burst out and swallowed Wang Feng. Yi Qin frowned and was about to help. However, it was no longer necessary. Wang Feng, who was holding the colorful snow blade, cut open the air barrier and stepped out. He slashed down from the sky, followed by a second slash, a third, a fourth. He slashed out 38 times in a row. Each slash stacked on top of each other, forming a huge astral saber. The astral saber extracted all the air in front of it, forming a vacuum without any resistance. This caused the speed of the slashes to increase by more than 3 times. Like a sudden clap of thunder, the astral saber struck where the black-clothed man was. Kacha! A deep scar appeared on the ground, and the flowers and trees nearby fell. Yi Qin looked very serious. What a horrifying attack! Under this kind of attack, even if his pure jade body-boosting spell had reached the peak of the 3rd level, he still wouldn't be able to block it. Only by reaching the 4th level would he be able to block it. Facing this attack, the only thing he could do was to not get hit. The inner disciples from the North Snow Martial Academy were indeed not easy to deal with. Their fighting abilities were not any weaker than the Emerald Martial Palace's disciples. In some sense, they might even be stronger. The black-clothed man's body was completely destroyed. The astral saber was way too fast, and the black-clothed man was not as fast as the one killed by Yi Qin. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Wang Feng's face turned pale. He knelt down on one knee. Stopping Yi Qin from coming over, Wang Feng said, "I am fine. This is the side effect of forcefully performing the vacuum-killing blade. My qi and blood are flowing backwards. You should go check on Yuan Xuemei." Vacuum-killing blade. What a powerful name. Yi Qin nodded and walked to the other place where the battle was taking place. Spring rain. In the thick grass, Yuan Xuemei's feet did not touch the ground. She looked like she was weightless. The thin silver sword in her hand was shaking at an extremely fast speed. It was so fast that it was almost impossible to see it with naked eyes. Only beams of sword light could be seen flying out, like a light rain in the spring. Chi, 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 chi. The grass under the black-clothed man's feet was full of holes, as if he had just experienced a locust disaster. He had to put up a defensive layer to block the continuous sword lights. Summer rain. Seeing that the black-clothed man had blocked the first wave of sword lights, Yuan Shuame looked normal. The sword aura in her hand changed from gentle to violent and impatient. Impossible. How could I be suppressed? Being under the cover of the sword lights, the black-clothed man knew better than anyone else how horrifying the sword lights were. If it was just a spring rain before, then it was a summer storm now. It kept pouring down, washing his defensive layer, autumn rain and thunder. Without giving the black-clothed man any chance, Yuan Shuame's sword aura changed again. The sword lights contained the poetic perspective of thunder and lightning. It was like a thunderstorm in the autumn, stunning and desolate. Crack! The defensive layer cracked open. The black-clothed man screamed in fear, "I give up! I will leave right now. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me." Yi Qin shook his head. Compared to the previous two, this black-clothed man looked so miserable, which did not match his face at all. However, this also reflected the complexity of people's hearts. No one's appearance could truly reveal their inner qualities. There were those who appeared forthright on the surface, but were dark on the inside. There were those who were refined, but were secretly licentious and shameless. There were also those who appeared to be sanctimonious, but were actually thieves and prostitutes. They were more hateful than the so-called villains. Yuan Shuame had already planned to kill him. How could she let this black-clothed man go? The sword aura in her hand became even stronger. The violent thunder sword light almost drowned the black-clothed man in it. Crack, 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 crack. More and more cracks appeared on the black-clothed man's defensive layer. Finally, it could not bear the attack anymore and collapsed. The black-clothed man who had lost his defense was instantly pierced through by the sword light, turning into a hornet's nest. Phew! Yuan Shuame let out a mouthful of turbid air. Her body sank, and her feet landed on the ground. Her forehead was covered in sweat, reflecting a crystal-clear light. Yi Qin smiled and said, "The Rudra Martial School's 4-season sword art is amazing. Unfortunately, I did not get to see the most powerful winter sword art. The 4-seasons sword art is an Earth Realm sword art. How could I learn it? This is only the 4-seasons rain sword art that was derived from the 4-seasons sword art. It is far from the real 4-seasons sword art. It is not even worth mentioning. On the other hand, Brother Ye's fist art is so earth-shattering. It can actually merge with the opponent's chi and attack back, killing them with only one attack." Yuan Shuame looked at Yi Qin with a smile. Yi Qin shook his head and forced a smile. It was not easy to gain the upper hand with words from Yuan Shuame. On the Ling family side, everyone suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Their palms, which were holding their weapons, were full of sweat. They were ready to charge at any time. Although some of them would be injured or killed, they did not care about that. However, martial school disciples were indeed martial school disciples, although they did not seem to have the upper hand on the surface. When they really fought with their lives on the line, they used all kinds of ace attacks and killed the 3 black-clothed men. Compared to them, the fighting power of these people was miles behind. They did not even have the qualification to look at their backs.